to banging the tables, dismantling, destroying microphones, ensuring an abrupt end to or curtailment of the confirmation proceedings, and to a point of getting to the press and telling the whole world that though we are few, we are a mighty few. We will not be bullied or intimidated. To a point of the Speaker of Parliament issuing suspension orders, suspending those who were engaged in the chaos, and the minority issuing a statement rejecting the Speaker's orders, labeling them as unconstitutional. They are unlawful. They didn't follow due process. They mimic a dictator's conduct. Was anyone acting silly in that house? And what happens to whoever told whoever that they were acting silly? Yes, so we deal with the many issues that arose during the appointment hearings in Parliament this week. Just yesterday, when the minority boycotted the process, the majority passed as many as 6 or more of the nominees in less than 1 hour. There have been some acquittals, quote unquote, acquittals. Stephen Opuni, who has been on trial together with Seydou Agongo for almost 8 years, the state went to court and threw in a withdrawal. They get a discharge. Not just that, they get a complete acquittal. They are free. Ofosu Ampofo, Johnson Esiama, they all got acquitted without completion of a trial. Atuforsen Richard Jakpa, the appeal that was mounted against them, also withdrawn. What is going on? Erastus Asaredonko, in the wake of the escalation of Galamsey, is receiving threats of harm to himself and to his entire family. President Mahama has some interesting instructions about those who want to continue to engage in Galamsey. I'm Samson, Lardy, Anyenini. We're right back to deal with the vexed matters.
Let's do this with the slam. Peace and quiet.
The Tano Anya, Tano Nimre, and Yoyo Forest have recently come under attack by illegal miners led by known NDC activists in the Awin municipality. The siege has led to violent clashes which have claimed 2 lives and resulted in several injuries. 3 armed groups have taken over sections of the forest, mining illegally. The Awin Traditional Council accused the MP for Awin, Oscar Forilabi, of involvement in the illegal invasion of the Tananya Forest Reserve. Chief of Nkwanta, Nana Into, at the news conference urged the new Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakufibua, to protect the forest.
So now we want to appeal to the government through Forestry Commission with all the necessary institutions to come to our aid so that the forest could be protected for us.
According to the Traditional Council, Oscar Ofori-Labi has ignored their calls to address concerns, prompting them to urge the regional executives of the National Democratic Congress to intervene. Nana Peyin II is Tufuhine of Inchi.
As we speak, Honorable Labi has never honored our invitation to meet with Nananum. Nananum engaged diplomatically with the regional executives of the NDC to call Labi to order, but he abused them. He went ahead and collected 200,000 entry fee for groups to enter our forest. Consequently, Nananum has no choice than to write to the Ghana Catholic Bishop on the 20th to help appeal to the government to stop Labi and his gang from these notorious activities.
The Traditional Council is calling for a joint effort from the government, Forestry Commission, the media, and security agencies to stop the destruction of forests in the Awin municipality. Nana Nto, Chief of Nkwanta, again.
So when Nananum had this issue, we called Lardy. Lardy could not come. So Keb, who is a special assistant to Lardy, came to the palace, telling us that all those activities going on, the power that the authority that he had was from Lardy. And those that squad, Karim, Farouk, Baron, they were those people who are working in the forest. They are working in the forest. And whenever you ask them, they will tell you it's Oscar Ofori-Labi, who is the MP, whom they are doing that work for.
Two of the groups have since abandoned the illegality in the forest, leaving one group still on site. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Awin Municipality, Western Region.
This is Newsfile, and you just listened to Erastus Asaredonko, who has come under threat, himself and his family. Let me read this shortly to you. Erastus posted this. He said, let me put it on the record. If anything happens to me or any member of my family, this man knows something about it. We'll project that to you shortly. This man knows something about it. Just minutes ago, he sent this message. Quote, advise your husband if you want him to be with you and your kids. End quotes. That's the message. A man in a picture we will show to you shortly sent to Erastus Asaredonko's wife. And Erastus served the notice that if anything happens to him, this man ought to be held accountable. And he copied the message to the Ghana Police Service, brought it to their attention, the U.S. Embassy, Reporters Sans Frontiers, Reporters Without Borders, and RSF. A number of issues have come up as far as Galamsey is concerned, because it appears that whilst the transition is going on, the Galamseyers are taking an advantage and having a field day in going about the mining illegally. And Erastus has been following most of some of these and has been reporting about them. John Mahama says that the government will ban the issuance of mining leases in all forest reserves and promptly revoke all leases issued under the previous government. The government has not given any person or group of persons authority to mine in these forest reserves. He also issued an instruction requiring that steps must be taken. He says the ministers for lands and natural resources, the interior, the attorney general, and the minister for justice must take immediate steps to ensure the arrest and prosecution of any person or group of persons mining in forest. The Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey issued a statement. They directed one to him and another to Parliament, and they are asking for urgent action because it appears that during the transition, a lot is going on. we'll share some of that with you here. Right, so what I was mentioning to you a while ago is what you're watching on your screens. That's the message that man whose picture will be properly projected for you to see, sent to Erastus's wife and threatening harm if Erastus does not, stop his pursuit of the Galamsey menace by way of reporting about it. But let me get my guests so we get to deal with this issue quickly. We are planning to have a good time, dedicate sufficient time, perhaps next week, to revisit the matter of Galamsey properly and what this government ought to be doing and how quickly it ought to be doing same. Now, my guest here in the studio, Nana Todazi. Nana Todazi is a very senior lawyer, and you know him. He's been a former chief of staff and has been, if you like it, a towering figure as far as some of the matters that are important for the forward march of the democracy of Ghana has been concerned. Thank you very much for making time to join us. Thank you very much. Also joining us here in the studio is Bobby Banson. Bobby Banson, call him a young lawyer with quite some really great expertise. He's authored 2 legal texts so far, assisting lawyers and people who want to read and learn about the law so far. Thank you very much, Bobby, for joining us. We are joined via Zoom. Rhoda Afo of the Codeo, you know her very well, and also Mary Awalana Ada. In the second segment, right after this, we will also have Hassan Tampuli of the NDC, MPP, join us. You know, Hassan Tampuli is one of those who have suffered the sanctions. Al-Hassan Suleimana Tampuli, you remember him, a former minister. He is one of those who also suffered sanctions under Bagwin yesterday. So quickly, let's begin to think about it. Nana Todazi, I'm sure you have been watching, and as a senior citizen, you have been very surprised about how Galamsey is devastating our country, and we appear to be helpless.
Yes. Thank you, Samson. And good morning to your esteemed listeners, viewers. Galamsey should have been a thing of the past. I mean, you need not roll back into the story. I mean, it's an existential threat on the health, medical, economic, our future. That's all. The only thing we have is our land. And it's being destroyed. As I said, we don't need to. That argument has been debated through and through. The question is, what are we doing? How do we stop it?
Exactly.
And I think that we've come so far. After this election, it should be clear that this business should be stopped. Whether you are a politician, whether you are a chief, whether you are an ordinary citizen, if it is wrong, it is wrong. Children are coming out with a lot of diseases, how many fingers and whatnot, distorted. Adults running out of kidneys. And I understand this one because I've had an experience, on kidney. So I know what it is, what we eat, the food we eat, the water we drink, they're all contaminated. And we still continue with it. I think that is quite refreshing that the president has immediately announced that, look, we are into a state of enforcement. That is all that is required. We need to make sure that this business stops. Actually, way back in the 50s, there were more, Galamsey points than, today. And Kwame Nkrumah stopped it. He stopped all the what do you call it, the mines. There were so many mines, minor, mines around, Western region. He stopped it. So we should be able to stop it, But unfortunately, we say we need that gold. That should be properly regulated. So we should draw the line between illegal or non-legal, mining. And I think that really, for me, the steps that the president or the order the president has made must be effectuated. I mean, we must find real ways of enforcing, making sure the chiefs have an obligation. They are on the land. They know who are there. So we should ask them to report, to the nearest police. We must have some enforcement mechanism. The Chief Justice must be saying, giving some directives as to how, people accused of, or brought up should be treated. Or we should have a special court for this. Because, look, we are running out of time,
They are actually dedicated courts for the purpose.
Yes, but I'm saying, well, then we must make sure that those courts are working, I mean, we have sanitation courts. What are they? Where are they? After some time, they were relegated into the...
The question has been asked if the legal approach or legalistic approach works.
Yes, but you see, for enforcement of law, there must be a minimum amount of force. People must realize that impunity will not be tolerated. It is just impunity that is making this thrive. It's as simple as that, People are paying their way through it. So we should make it, unprofitable. But for those who are mining, for those who are selling, for those, who are taking a kickback, to make sure that the business goes on.
The president is issuing instructions.
Yes.
Is that enough? Because we have seen that President Akufo-Addo has had to do far more instructions, and yet this fight, was
no, but it's a fight we can win. And I'm very confident that if we put our act together, the president can go to the field. So he's giving instructions. Now let's see the new phase of government or NDC, making sure that it happens, making sure that what they say, they do. You understand? Otherwise, then the elections will...
Don't we need, like in the Akufo-Addo regime, special vehicles for the purpose, rather than ordinary general instructions to the security, the sector ministers to enforce the laws?
Samson, we've seen a whole battalion of soldiers, stop guard, what do they call?
Galamsey,
and all that, and
Halt.
Wonderful names, come to naught. I'm saying that it's an enforcement mechanism. We in this country can do it. I have absolute faith in Ghana police. If they decide to do the job, they have the other side of it, collecting data. We know, after all, these people, they are not operating en masse. They are operating here. So how come? And then they come through the main roads. You say nobody stops them.
I'll ask Rhoda if she has as much faith in the established systems or authority in the manner that Nanato Dazi does. But before that, Erastus, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Samson.
Great. I'm not excited at all this morning, speaking to you as we do regularly, because I don't know what is going on in your mind. I don't know, how you are thinking, how you are getting around with your family in the face of the threats that have become public.
Samson, it's been difficult for me for quite some time. At a point before the elections, after assessing my security, I had to go out of the country for a while because after we being assaulted in the forest, there were a number of threats as well, people tracking your vehicle and all that. And so I had to go out of the country for a while. When I came back, you have a number of people who are coming to your inboxes and telling you that based on what we know, you have to stop doing what you're doing. You have to do this. You have to take care of your life. You have to stop this thing you are doing. It's dangerous. It makes you feel as if somebody is going to hit you one day when you're on the streets and you don't know who. And so you are always looking behind you. And you have family members who constantly keep calling you and they want you to stop. But this is what I do. This is my job. And what I'm doing, it doesn't benefit me alone. It's a whole country issue. Where we are going currently, if you assess the ground, and if you see the diseases, if you see people who are dying on sickbed, some of them are my friends who I advised and they never listened. And now they are dying. You know. And so I don't see why a simple thing of doing the right thing becomes a problem to the extent that I and my family must suffer for it.
Right.
With somebody coming to my inbox and writing, my wife's inbox, and writing that if you want your husband to be with you and your kids, advise him.
Who is this guy?
I have no idea. I don't know him from Adam, but I've reported to the police. The cyber people are working on it, and definitely we'll get to know him.
What's the name he uses and he used to contact, send messages to your wife?
So he goes by the name Chopu, CHOPU. But he has pictures of himself and other things. And he's unrepentant. If you look at the last few days, the kind of comments he still has been writing on my wife's page.
Oh, okay, so a lot of things can happen on social media. So we hope and pray that it's not somebody nameless person using other people's photos on his page and doing what he's seeking to do. How much assurance do you have from the police? I remember I led you to the police, even to the police headquarters, to lodge a complaint when you were threatened. 2 years after, the police seemed to have forgotten that you actually lodged a complaint, and they said that you had actually not lodged a complaint. Sometime last year, when I raised the issue about their incompetent conduct, they got one of their chiefs to call me, very high up in the police, to call me and ask me to, as it were, provide the information one more time so they assist. I was promised that the action will be swift. I've not heard a word from them still. It looks like it's business as usual. So how much confidence do you have, assurance do you have from the police?
Well, I remember all the issues you are talking about because I went with you to the National CID. I remember I also went with Suleiman Abrahama and Manasseh Azuri on the same case. We followed up. Nothing happened. Nobody called me again, and that's it. But this time around, I've gotten the IGP call me personally, and he's asked the cyber team to also call me. One ASP, Kenneth, also called me, and he asked me to file a formal complaint with the regional police headquarters. I have done that, and they are also working on it. So for now, I'm certain that something will come out of it.
When we made the earlier complaints, there were identifiable individuals the police were supposed to pursue. They did nothing. In a situation where you are submitting a complaint without, identifiable individuals who are easy to access and contact, you still have so much faith?
There are certain details that might jeopardize the investigation, so I wouldn't want to mention it on TV.
Okay.
And that is what is giving me that assurance. And so I'm finger crossed, looking at the coming days to see what will happen.
Okay. Now, tell us, in the last few weeks, running up to the elections, after the election, and during the transition period. And by our measurements, we are thinking the transition we're still in the transition. The transition should end with the appointments being done. We have been doing this show from 8 a.m. Within the period of the transition. After the transition is over, we will revert to our 9 o'clock. Now, within this period, how bad has Galamsey gotten?
Samson, it will shock you to know that right after the word go, when President Mahama was declared winner of the elections, we had some NDC groups across Galamsey sites blocking roads and then preventing people from entering some forest. And they said they are taking over. They have taken over from that time until now. A case in question is the Tananya Forest Reserve. In fact, that forest reserve, the degradation of it illegally was started by some elements within the MPP government. And I say so with all conviction because I know the name, though I will not mention names here. They know themselves. And we have been there so many times, reported on the degradation of that beautiful forest. And then when power changed hands, we had 3 NDC groups, headed by one Karim, Baron, Farouk, and there's a guy who identifies himself as Mahama bodyguard. And they took over that forest. In fact, all investigations point to the MP for the area, Oscar Lardy, as the one who brought them there to start degrading the forest. I called him, he denied, he said he was not involved. I asked him whether he knows the gentleman I was mentioning. He said yes, they are party boys. But at a point in time, he advocated that if they are allowing people to mine, they should also allow his boys to also mine. And I said, this is an area, this is a forest reserve. There are laws guiding mining in forest reserves, which are very, very strict. These are people who do not have any expertise, they don't have any license whatsoever, and you are advocating that they are giving licenses to mine. Is that not endorsing illegality? He said no. He only advised. But after that, the chiefs in the area, their own municipality, traditional council, they've done a press conference, and they've accused him of being behind those boys who are mining in the forest. In fact, as at 3 days ago, the 3 camps were still in the forest and they were mining. It was when I put it on my Facebook page and it generated so much public uproar that 2 of them withdrew from the forest. It was left with 1 group that was still mining in the forest. I'm yet to check whether that group has also left. And these are people who are fully armed to the extent that the first week when they started, they engaged in a gun battle. 2 of them died. And there are others who are critically injured, and they still continue to mine. And they served warning to forest guards that if you attempt to come over there, they will deal with you. There are similar stories across the country that people are taking pictures and sent to me and said, people have suddenly taken over this area. People have come to take over this area. Can you come to our aid? I'm not a policeman. I'm only a journalist who is trying to help, us do these things. Those who have the power to stop it are there. And that is why I needed President Mahama to sound, an urgent warning. And I've heard him say something about it. Now we are waiting for the action itself to stop these things.
So from where you sit, the instructions and comments or pronouncement by President Mahama is sufficient?
It's not. It is a start, and it is a strong word that we needed, but it should be backed by action. And in fact,
is he acting slow?
To my knowledge, yes. And I said it before, because you heard it from his speech when he took power. I was expecting to hear something Galamsey, even the word Galamsey in his speech. I did not hear that. Subsequently, he's made speeches. I did not hear even the word Galamsey in that speech. And to me, it was disappointing for me because I expected that word to come from him, a strong word in his speech that this is what I'm going to do, a clear indication of what is going to happen.
You have been on this beat, and you know strong words don't mean anything to the Galamseyers, right? You have been to the field, and you have seen soldiers armed to the teeth shooting, and still these people are there. So what will strong words do to them?
In fact, if the leader of the country, when he started office, serves a strong warning in his first speech, in fact, by now, those groups who started taking over might have withdrawn. But because there was nothing and there was that lapse, in Galamsey field, in Galamsey fight, a simple lapse in action sends a very strong wind down the various fields. Okay.
So, Erastus, those who are, commenting on the Joy News platform right now on Facebook, one of them says they think it is best for you to just stop this, Galamsey reporting to save your life, because your country, even though it has decorated you with, prestigious honor, the GJA award, you have won all of that, they won't do anything to prevent, the wicked from trying to harm you.
Maybe they should tell me what I should do next.
Yeah, they say they say give up, just hang your boots on this.
The environment waits for no one. If you know, currently, Ghana Water Company has shut down its plants at Bonsa because the Bonsa River can no longer be treated.
So this is not something you are considering at all, that for the fear of your life, to preserve your life, you just forget about pursuing Galamsey?
My life is anchored on, in the end, getting a piece of land and farming with the rivers that flow along my village. If I cannot use that river, I cannot farm, I cannot do anything. My children's children are not going to benefit from the forest that we have. It's an existential threat that all of us, not me alone. So instead of advising me to stop, why don't you join me so we can do it together?
Thank you very much, Erastus Asari Donko, and we pray with you, and also hope that the security authorities will do what they have to do. At least this time, the IGP himself has sort of, intervened and is making sure that the right things are done. Mrs. Rhoda Osei Afo, and I have to be careful not to simply say Rhoda Afo. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I have received some whipping from my brother that I have to say Rhoda Osei Afo. What do you think is going on, and what should be the attitude of this government, which promised that it will tackle this issue?
Good morning, Samson, and thank you very much for having me. It's quite sad listening to Erastus. We want to commend him for all the efforts that he's been putting in on this fight. Of course, the coalition, the anti-Galamsey coalition, excuse me, and all the individuals and organizations who have been dedicated to this cause. He doesn't have to go through what he's going through. We are hoping that the state will come to his rescue, will provide the necessary support that he needs. He will not be on his own. He will not be left on his fate. But Erastus, I don't know what words of motivation I could give you, but it's quite unfortunate how things have been going. I have had a stint with the mining sector, and I have a fair idea of what this menace is, the implications on the environment, on livelihood. I don't think at this point we have any difficulty at all appreciating the state of the problem that we find ourselves in, the nature of this menace. So the question then is, what are our difficulties as a state? Is this a problem that is beyond our capacity in terms of dealing with it? I don't want to believe so. I don't think that the state is at a place where it is struggling to deal with this problem, or it doesn't have the capacity to deal with this problem. Previous government, and indeed our current government, our president, has signaled their intention and commitment to fighting this menace. And yet we see the situation deteriorating. I think Erastus said this quite well. What we need now is decisive, comprehensive, and sustainable action. We don't want to see a one-off show-off, something that is intended to convey a certain message to us that we are committed to this cause as a government, and yet in the end we leave things and we go back to what the problem was. We want to see indeed consistent efforts in terms of engagement. Of course, there are issues to do with the approach, and I think Samson, you already mentioned a bit of that, right? If at this stage we want to really reflect, evaluate our strategy so far and how best to go forward, that is fine. And of course, we appreciate that the government, the president is still in the process of constituting the government. Some agencies are being the heads and leadership of some of these agencies that are responsible for addressing some of these problems. They are all in the process of being appointed and all of that. But of course, we want to acknowledge the indication or the signaling that is coming now from the presidency. What we don't want is to have it stop here. We want to see that there is swift action, and that the action is also sustainable, is comprehensive. We are addressing the problem in all its diverse dimensions. So really at this stage, I think all we are looking for is decisive action from government that is really intended to address the problem thoroughly. Right.
You spoke about decisive and comprehensive. Decisive, comprehensive, and you use one other word, like it can be sustained. Decisive, comprehensive, and sustainable. What is the guarantee that we will not do the usual things we have been doing that have shown not to yield any results?
Indeed, yes, you're right. We want to see exactly what plan and measures government is putting in place. When I talk about comprehensive action, in the past we heard about plans in the direction of alternative source of livelihood for people living in some of these communities, how else we can engage people so that they can move into other sectors, or they can have other meaningful sources of livelihood away from this. When we are talking about this menace, again, that there have been issues about whether we are looking at small-scale mining, we are looking at the illegality of what people are doing and all of that, okay? Of course, the problem, the issue has been clarified in the past that this is not about the fact that people don't want small-scale mining. It's about who has been given a license to mine responsibly, right? Right. And who has not been given a license to mine responsibly. Of course, a lot of things have come up in the past, even about these licenses and how they've been issued and all of that. So we want an approach that takes into consideration all these challenges about even the issuance of licenses, okay, and then the mode of mining. What are the mechanisms that people are using to mine? And we don't want to leave all these other areas unaddressed, so that we are focusing on one aspect and then we are creating another problem in another direction that comes back to bite the issue again. So really, we need to be comprehensive. There has to be engagement with our traditional leaders. There has to be engagement with our communities who are directly impacted by these activities. There are people who, as at now, believe that these are their only source of livelihood. How do we engage them? How do we probably put in place other mechanisms that can help them also live their lives?
All right.
And basically, these are some of the things that we are looking at.
Thank you. Let me go to Mary now. Mary, thanks very much for joining us this morning. President Mahama says, quote, no member of this government is to engage in any form of small-scale mining. So let's mark that. No member of this government is to engage in any form of small-scale mining. Small-scale mining is not an illegal mining. They are two different things. Or Galamsey. Any such person will face sanctions that shall be swift and severe. Is this, will this do something?
Thank you very much, Samson. Good morning to you, to your listeners, and to the other panelists. I believe that that statement was made in good faith, and so let's take it from that angle to say that the president's statement would only begin to see results if we see that he allows the systems to work and work effectively. We have heard such statements being made in the past, and we haven't seen them being followed by any action whatsoever. And so let's see what happens and give the president the benefit of the doubt. But then let me add that in this democratic experiment we are engaged in, let's remember that the president saying no member of his government is not conclusive enough. And so he should have gone on to add any member and associate, because we have family. So if I am an appointee of the president, I could be engaged in this, doing it behind the scenes. We've seen people fronting, and particularly in this industry, there is a lot of people who have fronted for others, and the evidence has shown, people have shown that MPs are selling lands and concessions to people to mine. Does that mean it is that MP? You go and look for this within the small-scale registrations documents, and you would not see him. But then behind the scene, we are talking about politically exposed persons. And then we talk about issues of beneficial ownership. So he should add those two components to say that members of his government, beneficial owners therefore, and also all politically exposed persons connected to members of his government must pay attention and ensure that they are not in any way connected.
He said he said this too, that, quote, I urge the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Minister for the Interior, and the Attorney General to ensure the arrest and prosecution of any persons or groups engaged in this illegality. The questioning is, why is he not direct to the Member of Parliament for Awowim who has been, accused by the chiefs? I understand he has denied any involvement, and of course we all will expect that the due process will take place to establish whether in fact he has done something wrong or he has not. But why is he not saying directly to that member? Let's hear the president speak himself.
This government has not given any person or group of persons any authority to carry out any form of mining in these forest reserves as recently reported. I urge the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Minister for the Interior, Attorney General and Minister for Justice to take immediate steps to ensure the arrest and prosecution of any persons or group of persons engaged in this illegality. Honorable Kofi Amabua, as Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, you'll be charged with the duty of safeguarding the environment from marauding Galamseyers and managing our natural resources effectively. Let me take this opportunity to state that it shall be the policy of this government to ban the issuance of leases for mining in all forest reserves. We shall also move promptly to revoke all leases issued for the same purpose under the previous government. I also need to state here that no member of this government is permitted to engage in any form of small-scale mining or Galamsey. Any such persons will face sanctions which shall be swift and severe.
Yes, Mary, let's hear you.
Yes, so Samson, just like I said, the president's call, we all agree to. And that I have also indicated that let's give him the benefit of the doubt because he's indicated clearly that no member of his government. However, we want him to also add the fact that it is not only members of his government who would be perpetuating, they could be doing this under the guise of others who are fronting for them. And we have seen this in the past happen very frequently. Again, we appreciate the fact that he has given the clarion call and authority to the minister. Samson, there are also issues around policy inconsistencies when it comes to implementation. The president has spoken. This is his directives and the charge to the minister and also to the nation as that. But then when it comes to implementation, then we see the issues around grid and behind the scene activities carried on. Those are the ones we would want to see being stopped. So if president has given you the mandate, do it without any discrimination whatsoever, whether those who have in the past engaged or those who are currently being accused of any infractions when it comes to the directive of the president. And so for me, the member of parliament from the Awoin constituency must be called to order, and I believe the president should have mentioned him as an example that this would be the starting point of the thorough investigation, and also to show that the president has a very low appetite for those who would do anything to contravene the directives he has given. Our policies, when you asked earlier that do we have any faith that this would happen, from past experiences, it becomes very difficult for us to say clearly that we have faith that this would happen. We would only have faith that it will happen when we begin to see the results thereof. And so we have a very good case that the president can activate, and the Minister of Lands, for instance, should be able to do this quickly. Because in the past we have seen excessive politicization, even in some instances, even the traditional authorities coming in to ensure that the illegalities are perpetuated. In the past, we have seen excessive greed by the political class. In the past, we have seen excessive lack of accountability when it comes to infractions and people who have been cited. Listen to Erastus talk about the difficulties he has encountered, the brutalities against him, and yet nothing was done. And so for me, I would only begin to appreciate and have faith when I see action taken, when people's lives are protected by the security and not rather put at risk. Okay. When soldiers are on the field beating people up for doing or serving this nation, and then there is lack of accountability because of the excessive greed of the political class.
All right.
In this instance.
Thank you very much, Mary. And we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll hear briefly from Bobby Banson, and then we will zoom into the matters arising from Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Too many issues happening there within 1 week, right? We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. You have been listening to Nanato Dazi. You have been listening to Rhoda Osayafo and Mary Awalana Ada. Bobby Bansing is now going to speak to us. We heard Erastus Asare Donko and giving us some assurance and, faith that, especially because George Akufo-Dampare, PhD, the IGP, has called him and began processes to ensure that this person who is issuing threats to Erastus and his family simply because he is on the pursuit of Galamseyers, people who are destroying this country and causing this existential threat, that the police will take some concrete action and bring that wicked, evil person to book before they ever get the slimmest opportunity to harm Erastus or any member of his family. Why? Because of this pursuit, he has to leave the country at a point in time. What is his crime? You are doing wrong. You are doing something that's illegal, and he's shining the light on it. What is his crime? That you pursue him and you want to harm him. Well, so far, Bobby, there appear to be some hope because of the pronouncement of President John Mahama. He says, no member of my government should engage in small-scale mining. And let's note, small-scale mining is not illegal mining or Galamsey. He says, if you do, you will suffer severe and swift punishment. Those of you who are expressing hope and faith, I don't know, because I have heard a president say my presidency is on the line, and the situation got worse.
Good morning, Samson. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for giving me the opportunity to sit by the Venerable Nana Tudazi, a very respected Santa Clausian.
50 years at the bar.
Yes. You know, when we went to...
You should just dash me like 10 of that.
And they will be fine. So it's a pleasure sitting by you. One of the past students of Adishadel College that you always have to look up to.
You the Santa Clausians, you always rub it in our face.
The only school with its own clubhouse in Ghana. It's Legon, yes.
You are invited, Samson.
Samson, we will give you a free treat.
I'll think about it. Okay, go on.
So the issue of the Galamsey, I have said in the past that if we focus on deducting hope from words of politicians, we will never get anywhere. The reason being that over the past 4 years, there has been numerous laws by the legislature, policies or directions by the Chief Justice, so the judiciary, pronouncements by the executive. So every arm of government has taken a step in an attempt to curtail this menace or stop this menace. But we see that over time it has not reduced. In fact, at one point we all thought that, it had gone down until we woke up one day and Erasmus, when it came up all over Erastus, it came up all over again. Like, so all this while it was a host or what? I think that, when there was an issue some time ago where I think it was the MPP Ashanti region chairman. The news report was that he was leading trucks or something to some forest reserve. And then the townspeople stopped it. And based on that, they did not enter. I was very happy. And I said, this is the way to go. Because at the end of the day, the first impact of this illegal mining is on the people within the catchment area of the illegal mining. Secondly, the people who do the illegal mining or the people who benefit from the economies of scale around the illegal mining are people who either hail from the vicinity or have connections to the people from the vicinity. In the past, we were made to think that it is Chinese. The narration was the Chinese that, and I always said, there is no Chinese who sits in Beijing or Shanghai who knows where our wind forest is. There must be a Ghanaian who would first apply for visa, because when you are coming to Ghana, your visa on arrival or your visa, you must indicate who is inviting you. So we must track who are inviting these people. Now with Erastus' latest reportage, he didn't mention a Chinese. He mentioned Ghanaians. And these are people that the chief said they know them. So I am challenging the chiefs. If the politician you are alleging is taking 200,000 cedis as entry fee, you know these people as a chief. Your great-great-great-grandfathers may have shared their blood, their lives to protect the stool and the land. It is not enough to sit on the TV and do press conferences. Organize your people, because the law is that it is an offense. And then I think it's Section 8 of the Criminal Procedure Code allows citizens to arrest people who are caught in the act of committing offenses. Organize your people. Go and arrest these people. You are definitely more than them.
You know, Galamseyers have overpowered state security.
Yes, but then that shows that Samson, in this country, if a police officer is shot by an armed robber, within 24 hours, wherever the armed robber is, he's arrested. 48 hours maximum.
That's the source of my confidence.
Yes, so they can do their job. Ghana Police Service internationally are always awarded. If you go to Lebanon and you say you're a Ghanaian, they respect you far more because they've seen the work of our security agencies there. If you go to Rwanda and you say you are a Ghanaian, only because of the act of General Anyenini, they respect you double. So our security agencies are capable of doing it. They do not need what Mr. President Mahama, His Excellency, said. He did not introduce new laws. What he said, he has not introduced new laws. What he said is no law. The law already exists. If the chiefs, like the people who did allegedly to Mr. Wuntumi's entourage, at least that was reported, so I'm using that as an example. If those chiefs could stop those people, why can't these people be stopped? And Samson, we have an example of the Domahene, who has said that he will not entertain any form of Galamsey. It is not because there is no gold. Newmont is in a...
It is one of his areas that the chief and people came together to say there will not be any Galamsey here, and it happened.
So if we have these examples, why can't we do it? Why can't the chiefs be empowered or feel empowered? They were not voted into office. I'm not saying the state has no role, but I'm saying we have relied on the state far too long and we are not seeing anything. So why can't the chiefs assume the role? I think it was last 2 years or 3 years ago where when the lands commission, the lands minister was appointed and he held the stakeholders with the chiefs.
That's right.
And I said, okay, you are targeting the people who are the responsibility to do that. Then not long ago, then they started issuing licenses for people to undertake prospecting and whatever in the forest reserves. Sometimes, you know, Parliamentary Act, before such license is issued, the chiefs must approve. It's in our law. The minister cannot issue any license without the approval of the chiefs. Without the approval of the chiefs. So how are the chiefs reneging on their powers, which we didn't vote for them? If a chief, we are in this country where a chief has said, it is Saturday, we are doing cleaning, no shop in Makola should open. Every shop closed.
That's right.
We are in this country where a king said, I am mourning my mother, no flight should come to my region. No flight flew, no bank opened. They are not elected, they have so much power, and they are not using it. So these chiefs, this member of parliament that they are accusing, when he wanted power, he came to them. During election, they all go to the chiefs. If you are calling this MP and he's not coming, you organize your people, you know these people, chase them out of the bush. Make sure that they are not seen within your vicinity. Because if the state authorities are not doing their work, do not rely on them again. I am happy the president has finally provided some form of policy direction during his term. And I'm hoping that, like the madam said, it should not be limited to only known political apparatchiks. It should be extended. I am hoping that the line is actually drawn between small-scale mining and illegal mining.
Right.
Because per our law, there is an obligation to restore those who do the legal mining. I think some years ago, the Minerals Commission said in the whole eastern region, they had only 2 vehicles to do enforcement and monitoring. Then they introduced this thing about using drones to do monitoring and everything. We have seen nothing out of it. And so I'm hoping that the government will take the necessary steps to ensure that the state agencies are empowered so that people who genuinely are interested in doing the mining in accordance with law are not affected by those who are doing it illegally. But those who are doing illegally, I challenge the chiefs and the people of the towns to exercise their rights under Section 8 of the Criminal Procedure Code and cause the citizen arrest.
Thank you very much. Mining licenses issued over the period since 1995 to date. 2,125 licenses. During Jerry Rawlings' regime, 1995 to 2000, 24 licenses were issued. During Kufuor's regime, 2001 to 2008, 14 licenses were issued. Under President Mills, 2009 to 2012, 7 licenses issued. Under John Mahama, 2012-2016, 44 licenses issued. Under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, 2017 to January 6, 2025, 2,037 licenses. And in January of 2025 alone,
that was incredible.
So many were issued before the swearing in. Between the 1st and the 6th of January, there were 102 licenses that were issued. And after that, January 19, 1 license issued. President Mahama says they have not issued any license under his regime, and those that were issued for mining in forest reserves will be revoked. That gives you a lot of hope as well.
Yes.
But the principle is that those who are doing it illegally, regularize it for them by giving them licenses so that you can regulate their operations.
Yeah. Briefly, I think that I'm saying a country or a state is developed through set rules and regulations and respect for law and order. If you don't have it, no way for democracy, no way for progress. You know, I think that we say collectively, mining in forest reserves banned, mining in water bodies banned. This is clear and absolute. And I think that the president, what he's saying, President Mahama, what he's saying is that these illegal activities, people caught in these illegal activities, should be arrested and prosecuted. It doesn't matter whether it's Awin or whatever. But talking about the figures, 2022 actually caught up in the 2,300 plus, licenses of the last regime. 2022 was a defining year. It was a state decision, to grant more licenses because we were going for gold for, is it oil?
Oil.
We were trying to marshal, all our resources towards that. So how would the chief in that village stand up to fight the executive that wants gold by all means possible?
If it's legal mining, we don't have any problem with it, except that we are getting accusations that those who are getting the licenses are actually involved in the illegal operations as well.
Yeah, but this is the point that, you see, that operation, I mean, licenses issue is no problem, but it's all regulated field.
That's right.
That is all. But I sympathize with Erastus and wish him well. I think that he deserves, very heavy protection from the state. It shouldn't happen to that. But the person who's issuing those threats is simply a coward. Why doesn't he send the threats to Erastus himself? Why do you send to the wife? He must be a coward. And Erastus should be able to stand up to him.
Right.
Survive.
So that is where we are now. People who are reporting on Galamsey have to try and do that, undercover. I was interviewing Stromsai, is it Adam? Yeah, here, the guy who goes around, takes footages, drone footages, and he can't show his face to talk because He's afraid. What has he done wrong? The people who are doing the right thing, trying to stop the wrong, must do it underground, else their lives are in danger. What kind of country is this? This is Newsfile. We take a quick break. We return to the House of Parliament. It's been chaotic. How can it get better? The Speaker has issued orders suspending some MPs and asking for reconstitution of the committee for vetting or appointment, and a number of other things have also come up. My outfits, as always, is by Konatic Clothing. You can call Konatic Clothing on 0244 676732, 0244 676732. Konatic Clothing. You can find them at the Adenta Shopping Center, or call it the Adenta Mall. We'll be right back.
All this happening right in the middle of all this. Austin Game trying to calm things, and there's a violence, there's fight. This is literally two MPs at each other's net. Honorable Hassan Tampuli together with Roxy Nelson Dafemekwa pushing, holding each other's clothes as we speak, and their leaders are trying to separate them, and none of them will allow this to happen.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. My guest, Nana Atodazi, international political transition expert and senior lawyer. Bobby Banson is private legal practitioner and lecturer at the Ghana School of Law. Maria Walana Ada is executive director, the Ghana Integrity Initiative, GII. Rhoda Osei Afo is senior research analyst, Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD. And we spoke to Erastus Asare-Donko, investigative and environmental journalist with the Multimedia Group, who has come under threat for simply exposing wrongdoing. As far as Galamsey is concerned, illegal mining, which is an existential threat to all of us. Alhaji Habib Idrisu, MP, Tolong, and First Deputy Minority Whip will join us for this segment. And as you know, something has been happening in Parliament. Let's go there quickly and return to hear from our guest.
All this happening right in the middle of all this. Austin Game trying to calm things, and there's a violence, there's fight. This is literally two MPs at each other's net. Honorable Hassan Tampuli together with Roxy Nelson Dafemekwa pushing, holding each other's clothes as we speak, and their leaders are trying to separate them, and none of them will allow this to happen, and they've been separated as we speak. But this is chaos. This is a lot of very not so nice scenes as the marshals and other persons try to separate the conflict and the confrontation that is currently ongoing here at the appointment committee, where really not so much good scenes. The 9th Parliament is starting on not so good scenes so far. A lot of policemen walking in. Our policemen are walking in. A lot of policemen from the Parliamentary Protection Unit have now walked in, and they are trying to ensure that there is order and there is calm here ultimately for this process to happen. But this table has become the center of attraction, with MPs pulling and pushing with a lot of confrontation. Please pick it. Yeah. This is chaos. Well, as you can see, this MP says they will not allow these tables to be, the tables are literally being pushed, where the NDC MPs trying to rearrange the tables. The MPP MPs are not allowing this to happen. And these are really terrible scenes, as we are seeing in Parliament, with honorable members right at each other's throats, fighting and pushing and pulling tables, saying that this vetting will not happen. That the pushing and pulling is ongoing. This is chaos. This is chaos right here in Parliament. These are reminiscent of some of the scenes we saw when the Speaker of Parliament was elected in the 8th Parliament. But this time around, this is happening at the Appointment Committee of Parliament. A small group of people trying to have some agreement in terms of what exactly they have to do. And there's absolutely no agreement. This is chaotic. This is chaos. The MPs at each other's throat. They say that this will not happen. The vetting process, they will not allow this to happen. And they push and pull. The police have been beefed up. There's a lot of policemen now in the building where they're trying to sort out a situation and calm things. But it's chaotic. It's really chaotic with all the things that are happening here. Well, it's chaos. The table have been turned. It's chaos. It's chaos. It's chaos. It's chaos. The table have turned. More microphones are falling to the ground and things have been destroyed. The table has broken. The table has been broken.
It's rather unfortunate on the part of the minority. I may say micro minority for the attitude that they exhibited so far in this vetting process. We are all surprised and very shocked. Destruction of what? State properties is uncalled for. It's uncalled for.
Right, thank you.
Must be investigated. And some of the MPs might be subject for this unfortunate development. It's rather unfortunate.
Thank you. Thank you. You see there some of the supporters. Right, these party supporters obviously not happy about all
the regular thing that is done is that under the standing orders, the names are published for 2 weeks to receive memoranda from the general public. Then on the basis of some of the feedback that we receive from the public, we proceed to schedule the nominees for vetting. In this case, the 2 weeks were waived. So if we were unwilling to participate in this exercise, we wouldn't have allowed for the 2 weeks to be waived. You understand what I'm saying? And on some occasions, some of the nominees have gone through after spending just about 5-10 minutes. All right? Some have had just about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So sometimes, depending on your own responses, your responses will determine how long you stay here.
Right. Thank you very much, Minister. Let me try and get one word from you, Honorable.
Yeah.
These are not good scenes for Parliament. How do you...
No, they are not good scenes. And as the leader said, as the leader of the House said, it is regrettable. But unfortunately, we have bent backwards several times. The number of people that were supposed to be vetted today, we've exceeded it. Even the 2 weeks advertising, we've waived it. Now it's like we just are going to be bullied. It won't happen.
It won't happen.
Right, so those were scenes from the Appointments Committee on Thursday night, and the Speaker took swift action the next day, yesterday, and issued suspension orders from sittings of Parliament for 2 weeks to the following people who were involved: Roxanne Nelson Eche Kwame Dafamapo, Frank Anodompre, Alhassan Suleimana Tampuli, and Jerry Ahmed Shaib. I'm been surprised because almost all the people involved, except Anodompre, that I don't have any, personal relations with. I know Roxanne. Roxanne was a year ahead of me with Alexander Fenyomaking. I know Jerry. We sat in class together. Hassan Tampuli, I handed over to him as the president of the SRC. He was a year, behind me. Yeah, he was your mate, right? And these people are naturally calm. They have a calm demeanor. So I don't know, seeing the pictures I was seeing, I'm like, when you go to Parliament, there's something else happening to you. Mahama Yaga says something. Let's hear that before we hear from our guest.
Oh, man. And so there's no way, in fact, even if they were here, the destruction of some of the machines here
cannot be easily replaced tonight. So for that reason, it is practically impossible to continue with the vetting. So I am pleading with all sides, that we should bring proceedings to an end, and tomorrow, given that the facilities here have been destroyed, by morning we will designate a new location within the House to continue with the vetting of the nominees. But before I end, let me caution everybody that, you see, all of us have supporters out there. All of us need to satisfy our supporters. And so when we are vetting, let's make good use of the time allocated to us so that we can be efficient, we can vet as many people as possible, so that we can have the ministers at the various ministries functioning and delivering on the commitments that Ghanaians endorsed at the polls by the way they voted. So I am pleading with members of the committee, and I will have discussions with my colleague, the minority leader, so that we can come to some conclusion on the time allocation and how long we take to vet individual nominees. So please, I am pleading with you. Because what we have done today, we have seriously damaged our reputation as a parliament. It will take us a lot of effort to redeem ourselves. But I know that Ghanaians can forgive, and they will forgive us. But going forward, let us be decent when we are doing the vetting. It is not right to spend 3 hours, 4 hours questioning a nominee. It is not right. It provokes a lot of people. I'm not saying we shouldn't ask nominee questions, but let's be moderate in our approach. I can understand the passions and the anger informing the decision to continue, even though today you have done so well. Indeed, today you had scheduled to vet 3 people. You agreed among yourselves and then made it 4. Then you agreed among yourselves and you extended it to 6. Unfortunately, the developments now makes it difficult to continue and implement the agreement. So I am pleading with you, bear with us. We are ending proceedings, and tomorrow we will continue. Meanwhile,
what if they come tomorrow and they do the same thing? Will you stop? They insisted that there will be no break. We came here and we decided to begin today.
Oh, please, you know where the instructions are coming from. I beg you. Please, sit down. Sit down. Oh, sit down. Please. So we are ending it. The leader of the house has spoken. So please.
So Habib, his own people were opposing him, trying to calm things down because they wanted to continue rather than yield to what you had succeeded in procuring, that it was not going further, right?
Not exactly, but it's only good to confirm where the problem was coming from. The fact that the majority leader is coming down his people, which they refuse to actually listen to my majority leader and the leader of the house, is an indication where the problem started from. And if I may just give you a background, I'm a member of...
I need just your quick thoughts around it. I want to do something. We'll go to our guest they speak, you hear them, what they have to say about you and your conduct before we hear you. So very quickly.
I'm a member of the appointment committee by the virtue of the fact that I'm a leader of the House.
You're supposed to be ranking.
No, I'm not the ranking.
Deputy ranking.
No, the minority leader.
Okay.
I'm the first deputy minority chief whip.
Okay.
And then under Standing Order 2177, the leadership of the House are members of the appointment committee. So I was there. In fact, what actually started the whole issue was to the effect that that very day, the minority, we have always compromised. And you are in the media, a recap of how governments have been set up. This is the fastest ever. About 30 ministers have been vetted and set up. It's unprecedented because we cooperated with them. We had to even stand down Standing Order 3, that when the president sends the list, it goes to the speaker, he comes to the floor, refer it to the appointment committee. We stand down the standing orders for this to happen. That very fateful day.
As in the advertisements.
In the advertisements. And the fact that even the formal communication from the presidency, the speaker had to read it on the floor and refer it to the committee. You could see that it doesn't happen.
So that normally there would have been some space for people to make an input, then you use the people's input to do the vetting.
Yes, so that's good faith on the part of the minority because we want to help the majority set up their government quickly. The second part we compromise is that under our standing orders in 2173, sector committees head, that the leadership of the sector committee, for example, if we are vetting the education minister, the ranking, vice-ranking, chairman and vice-chairman are to be co-opted into the appointment committee. Our committees are not set up in Parliament yet because it's just a new 9th Parliament. We said we'll appoint just the leaders so that we can aid them to do the vetting. On that very fateful day, we agreed that we were going to vet 3 people. We went on conclave. I was there. We agreed that we were going to vet Rashid Pelpo for the fact that he is senior. He's a 5th timer or so, or 6th timer. He's a former leader of the House. So we give him that respect. And we say we'll vet him. Then after that, we'll vet Murtala Mohammed, the Minister for Environment. And after that, we'll do some George. That was the 3 we were going to do the day. Then they came to plead that Honorable Akando, the Health Minister designate, his people came from the Western North.
Yeah.
They've been here.
I heard one of the chiefs complaining very bitterly.
So for that matter, we should add him. We compromised and we said that there's no problem. Let's add Akando.
So that made 4.
That made 4. So we started vetting of Rashid Pepo. It was done. Murtala was done. Sam George was done. Then they said,
Sam George was done after 5 hours.
Yes. Then they said, they said that is not new.
Yeah, it's not new, yeah.
Former finance minister was vetted for 2 days.
That's correct.
It's not new. So then they said we should bring in Kofi Adams.
It was vetted over 2 days, not for 2 days.
Over 2 days.
Yeah.
Thanks for that correction. And then we said, okay, no problem, bring in Kofi Adams, Minister for Sports. Then we vetted him, making it 4. Then they come back to tell us that, Nikpe, the Minister for Transport is there. Let's vet him too. We agree, and we vetted the Minister for Transport. Then we were tired. From 10 up to about 10 p.m., 10:30. Then what is the purpose of the vetting? People who are even following us, who are listening to us, at 10:30, who will be following you again? Then you were insisting that we should vet Akando and vet Ablakwa and 2 others to make it 10. Then we said no. For that one, we are tired. It will not happen. Then their mantra is that they are 183, and we are 88. So if we will not participate, we should walk out. But they should know that this Parliament, we will never walk out.
You said that at your press conference.
We will never walk out. We will be there and make sure that our voices are heard.
You'll be there and cause chaos.
No, we don't cause chaos.
No, the question is, if you will not participate in a process, you walk out or you sit quiet.
No. If there is no agreement, like in this case, we have compromised from day one, helping them. That very day, we vetted 5. It's not like we did not participate. 5 instead of 3. Then you are saying that you are added additional 5 to make it 10 on that day. What is the purpose of that?
24-hour economy. Allow them, if you are not interested, walk out because they say they still have a quorum, they have their numbers, they want to continue. So walk out and leave them to do their work. But you say you will not walk out.
And you will not allow it to.
And you will not allow it to happen. What that means is that you are going to use fiscal force.
No, Samson, if you watch the videos very well, when the chairman is seated, the minority is to his left and the majority is to his right.
Correct.
Ask yourself, where did the problem come from? The problem was coming from the left because the majority attacked the minority, and all the tables that were being done was from the minority side. Watch the video very well. If we were to cause the problem, we were attacking them. We were going to the speaker right, where the deputy majority leader is seated and the rest. And you see that the problem will start there. But they rather came to where the minority were seated. Watch the video very well.
We saw
watch where
those of them sitting
at
Jerry Ahmed's place. Anodonpre actually issued the instructions that they should dismantle the tables.
Nobody issued any instructions.
No, he did. He did.
No. You have already...
He said, dismantle the tables. Do it. And they were doing it.
You see, you know Frank Anodonpre very well. And even 3 or 4 days ago, my respected senior here was here to defend an issue involving somebody.
Oliver Bakavomo.
There was an issue with Anodonpre. Anodonpre is a 4th-time MP. He has been very calm in his 16 years in Parliament. He is not a troublemaker. Even that day, if you look at his reaction when he was verbally attacked by the lady, you will know that he's a true gentleman. He will never start a fight. And he has been, in the majority side, there was 2, in the 8th Parliament, there was 2 main issues. The election of the Speaker, and then the e-levy when the first deputy speaker was attacked. Right. Anodonpre was the majority whip. Did you see him appearing in?
But at least let's be faithful to the facts in this case. He's the one also asking for chairs to be put on the tables and close up, the tables, and we can hear him say it, and they do it.
I told you, this is not the first time. The majority side, even on the floor of Parliament, if you follow proceedings on a certain Friday, the minority leader, Honorable Afenyo Markins, because one of the MPs on the NDC side said, let's beat them up. He said it on the floor of Parliament and said that he should desist. That was Ashama MP. He called it out. And then it was Mama Ayerga. I respect him as the leader of the House. He's very calm. He believes in negotiation and for us to be able to solve problems amicably. He said, let's beat them up. That day, that was the same posture they said. Let's beat them up. That's, you beat who? We are
you held the press conference the next day, and Afenyo Markins said, we are few, but a mighty few. You will never walk out. It's not going to be part of your policy, but you will stay and insist that right is done. That's the question I'm asking. It means you are going to use fiscal force.
No. Samson, do you think on that very day that we were supposed to vet 3, we ended up vetting 5, right. And at the same time, they were still insisting we should vet additional 5. Do you think it's right? Do you think it's right? Do you think...
you have been doing it by consensus.
And there was no consensus in this.
And this is in this instance. And this is a democratic process.
What is the purpose?
Where consensus does not win, there's a vote that has to go on. So you participate in the vote. If you lose the vote, you continue. If you lose the vote, you don't want to continue, you boycott. Is that not what you're supposed to do?
On the record, the chairman of the committee, who is the first deputy speaker, refused to even suspend for 1 minute for us to have conclave and discuss the path that you are talking. Because if after these problems was to solve the problem, the chairman of the committee could suspend for like even 1 or 2 minutes.
So he was imposing rather than
trying to reach out. Then he could say, okay, let's suspend and let's go on to conclave. Then when we go on conclave, okay, we shouldn't continue. Say, okay, let's continue. Okay, then if that's the case, let's vote. We didn't even go to that stage.
I see.
They think that they could force their way through. They think that the right thing to do was to attack the minority. And that's why the minority leader saying that we are mighty few. Yeah. We will definitely not be intimidated. Walking out of the 9th Parliament is not part of
the Speaker has issued, penalties, suspension to these members. They are not only MPP members. NDC is involved here. You have issued a tall statement in which you attack the Speaker that what he's doing is wrong and that you are challenging his decision and you are not going to allow him to do that.
Yes, Samson, as much as I condemn the act of violence, because we are members of Parliament, we're supposed to be role models, what actually happened there is rather unfortunate, and we are remorseful. And, you know, on behalf of the minority caucus, we are actually sorry about the violent nature.
Yeah, even individual members. I heard Jerry, others, they issued their own apology.
So I apologize as a leader, you know, on behalf of my colleagues, that this very individual, they are not violent by nature. I have spoken about Frank Anodompe. Hassan Tampuli, as you said, you handed over to him. He has been in the house. This is his second term. Tampuli have always been calm. He's very respected. He's not a violent person, even the too violent that, okay, Tampuli will not necessarily get involved. He will argue. You know, you lawyers, you like to argue rather than to be physical. Jerry Ahmed is a first-time MP. He too is the same thing. What we are saying is that we, as much as the Speaker is the head of the institution under Order 20 and preside over these issues, and he tried to bring calm, but we are saying that the posture and the procedure he has adopted is very wrong in law.
You say it is partisan.
It's very, very partisan, because you watch the TV, the program, you were watching. Then you watch at the end of the day, then three minority members are suspended and one majority member is suspended. Definitely on the face of it, you'll be able to see that clearly. And more to the point, the Speaker, as the head of the institution, does not have that power to suspend members of Parliament. He doesn't, under the standing orders that we have.
He doesn't?
He doesn't have it, because you see, if you go and check, and the procedure and what he has done is too harsh. Because even our standing orders have given how members are supposed to be suspended. Now, Samson, you are a lawyer that I respect too much. And
have you better yourself to...
Wait.
Order
Hold on.
130.
Hold on.
No, I'll come to Order 130 and give you the details of Order 130.
Before that 130, you stay at Order 36.
32
you find something.
It starts from
35.
Order 32.
Right.
Order 32 before you get to 36, before you get to 130. Samson, even the Speaker's own statement and directive have already been violated by the majority, the NDC. They have already violated his order. Because one of the orders, I was in the chamber yesterday, in fact, you could see that
you were playing the Speaker's voice.
The Speaker had said that, for that matter, selection committee should meet immediately. I am a member of the selection committee, to reconstitute the appointment committee. And Speaker was saying that on the back of Order 217, where 217 clearly mentioned officers in terms of the composition of the appointment committee. And for the benefit, I'll just read part of it. It said, the appointment committee shall comprise the first deputy speaker as the chairman, the minority leader as ranking member, the deputy majority leader as vice chairman, and the following other members. 1, the majority chief whip. 2, the minority chief whip. So if the Speaker had made directive on the floor saying that I have suspended these two, majority and minority, and for that matter, selection committee shall meet and then reconstitute the appointment committee. In the wisdom of the Speaker, if these people are suspended, the appointment committee is not more properly constituted. It's not about quorum. It's about constituted. If it is quorum, that's where you mention the members that are there. But these are officers that have been mentioned, that the appointment committee should be made up of the first deputy speaker as the chairman, this and that, and these officers have been mentioned.
All right.
So, and he said today, that was what he said. So when the minority leader, Honorable Afenyo-Marke, respected leader who led that very well, was in there, I came in and I told him that he should not continue, because if he continue, he's violating the order of the speaker. And for that matter, I was whipping him.
The Mahama Yarga gave the information that the speaker had said, he approached the speaker, and the speaker has said that the meeting that he called for the selection and everything, it's suspended until Monday.
But the point is that, Samson, if the speaker comes to make a public on his communication to the whole world, must he call an individual and tell him that, oh, what I said? He emphasized today, look for the video.
Right.
He said today, then must he call the majority leader alone, of which I am a member of that committee and other people are members
He didn't call him. He said he sort of accosted the speaker when the speaker was moving out and told the speaker that the vetting process was ongoing. So asking that there should be a meeting will not be possible. And the speaker said, okay, he was also going to the airport to see his wife off. Therefore, the meeting he had called for immediately should not happen, but happen on Monday.
Samson, do you think this is right? Do you think? in law whether this was right. The fact that the Speaker have come on the floor of Parliament, make a statement, very categorical, that a selection committee should meet
today, so that's the point you raised.
Must you be approached by the majority leader?
So just speak to this issue before we move on, where you say the Speaker doesn't have power. You say the Speaker's decision is unilaterally to unilaterally suspend these 4 MPs without due process, without an opportunity for them to be heard under Article 19(1) of the Constitution, acting contrary to provisions of the standing orders, and without first exhausting internal disciplinary mechanisms, sets a dangerous precedent. It signals an era where the Speaker can arbitrarily punish members of Parliament based on perceived disobedience rather than adherence to parliamentary rules and fairness.
So, Samson, just even look at the communication from the Speaker, the order. He said, 1, that I am setting up a 7-member committee. He mentioned the name of the committee, and he went further to say that this committee is to investigate what happened yesterday, and any member who is found culpable or being involved, there will be punishment to that person, including properties damaged. They will pay for it.
They will be surcharged.
Good. They will be surcharged. Then on the same line, then you went ahead to suspend 4 members on the same thing. That was the essence of the committee that you have set up to do.
In internal disciplinary proceedings, you can indict people, suspend them while the process goes on. And when the process ends and they are exonerated, you reinstate them. If they are affected, then you increase or give them the sanctions.
Then the point is that why set up a committee to investigate to see who is involved and already crucify people for not even being heard, as you lawyers put it, the other party rule in Article 19(1). And our orders, he cannot suspend somebody under Order 130 for 2 weeks. Right. And if I may read, even if there is a contempt decision, where a member is found to be in contempt of Parliament under Order 129, the member shall be suspended immediately from the House, unless the House otherwise decide. The suspension shall be on the first occasion for 4 sitting days, the second occasion for 8 days, the third occasion for 12 days. Where from these 2 weeks? And then even if they are in contempt of Parliament, now contempt need to be
there
established.
There will have to be a committee of privileges. Let me bring my guest in. There will have to be a privileges committee that will sit on it and decide whether somebody is in contempt. But you will agree that under Order 35, the Speaker has the power to direct a member to withdraw from the House. That one doesn't have to go through an investigation.
But he was not talking about withdrawal. He's talking about suspension.
That's correct. I understand you. All right. So let me go on and hear from the ladies. Let's begin with Rhoda Osei Afo. Rhoda, what's your commentary about what is going on in Parliament?
Well, Samson, there's a scene from what transpired from the footage that we've seen where I think policemen are carrying the table that had been broken. They were carrying it out of the venue. And I asked myself, so if somebody met these police people carrying the table just outside of that place and said, oh, what happened? Then the police people would say what? Our members of Parliament were fighting or they were resorting to violence and therefore they broke tables. I mean, this is definitely going to be one of the day, I mean, it's a day of national shame, a day of shame for the nation, you know. Coming on the back of what happened exactly 4 years ago, it's quite unbelievable that our members of Parliament will allow themselves to go back to that kind of line. We are in a democracy, and one fundamental understanding of a democracy is that there's no place for violence as a conflict resolution mechanism, right? So that is something that all of us need to get down, that there's no place for violence in our attempt to resolve any conflict, whatever the nature of the issue may be. Now, the other interesting thing for me is the issue at stake, right? This is an issue about whether to continue with sitting or hearing or vetting or not. If for a matter as simple as this, members of parliament cannot talk among themselves. They cannot negotiate. They cannot build consensus on this. Then really, I don't know which other issues they will be able to do that.
Habib is saying the process is such that they will sit together and agree that we do 3, and they agreed on that. Then later they agreed again that we'll do 4 or 5. Then later they agreed that they will do 6. So if you want to add, the expectation was that you go through a consensual process. You don't impose. As far as he's concerned, the chair was seeking to impose additional people to be vetted.
Fair enough. We can go into the merits of their respective cases. Who was right, who was wrong. But one point that we all need to be clear about, Samson, is that we cannot, whether we have a good case or not, resort to violence. That is something that has to come clear to everyone, that irrespective of whatever your issue may be, there should be some other alternative means of pursuing your case other than violence. We cannot tolerate that in a country that calls itself a democracy. This is something coming down 30 years down the line. I mean, we've been doing this, and here in 2025, this is what we decide to do. I think we could just read the speaker's statement. I believe it strongly captures the sentiment of many Ghanaians in terms of our displeasure, in terms of anger about what transpired. I think the speaker was able to use the right words to capture exactly our displeasure about what happened. We don't expect this to come back again. We're hoping, this is something that the speaker has spoken about, that respect is earned. He had made this statement in the House just a few days, a day or two before this issue occurred. These are members of parliament sitting live on camera, and they were not even mindful. They couldn't show us the respect that they are live on camera. The people of Ghana are watching them, and therefore they are mindful of their conduct. So on from so many directions, this is so unacceptable. We of course want to also acknowledge that they've apologized, but really it shouldn't have happened at all in the first place. Now, the issue about, I think my difficulty with the speaker's statement is about the procedure. First of all, the members that have been suspended, it would have been good for us to know, first of all, on what basis is it that these were the frontliners. We've watched the videos, we've seen some of them, but it would have been great if there was some information about why
those that have been suspended, Rhoda, those that have been suspended, let's be faithful to the facts. Those that have been suspended, you see them in the video in misconduct. We can say that for a fact. Habib, and I think the minority's view is that there are more than only these people. And that number of those who have not been affected will include NDC MPs, which would have meant that in the end, the committee could not continue. But this happened in such a way that you take away the NDC MPP MPs, and the committee is still quorate. There's a quorum for it to continue its business. I think that's their concern.
No, so I'm not even speaking to the minority's concerns. What I'm saying is that for the public, for our own appreciation of what happened, because there were so many people involved, we want to be able to understand the basis for suspension of these people. Maybe they were, like you said, we saw the videos, we saw some of them picking up chairs or pulling tables and all of that. So that there's that clarification in the minds of people as to why these are the ones who have been suspended. Of course, there's also the issue about the procedure. And I also, having gone through the constitutional provisions in respect of the conduct of parliamentarians and the provisions that have been made available in terms of how we deal with it, and also the standing orders, I thought that that process of going through the privileges committee would have also been something that should have been explored. Of course, it's clear that almost everyone is angry at what happened, and everyone will appreciate the resource as speedy, as swift action through the privileges committee. Unfortunately, I understand it's not constituted yet, but because Parliament constantly reminds us about the procedures that they resort to, I mean, their own procedures and their standing orders, it would have been great if we had seen those processes being followed through. But of course, the Speaker's action was swift, and that really captures the sentiments of Ghanaians, which is that this is really uncalled for, this is unnecessary, that this is very shameful, and we do not accept this.
Okay. I said I'll go to the two ladies before, but let me come to Bobby. Now, Bobby, the Order 35 of their new standing orders is headed exclusion of disorderly member. And it reads that where in the opinion of the person presiding over the House. Where in the opinion of the person presiding over the House. Somebody puts up whatever conduct over the House or a committee. Somebody puts up a certain behavior. It says that person has the power to order the member to withdraw from the precincts of Parliament, and that member shall immediately leave the precincts and shall not enter the precincts again during the remainder of the day's sitting. But when you move to 100, quickly, let me go there. So we find out whether the Speaker actually had the power or did not, as the NPP accuses him that he does not. When you go to 130, 130 is headed suspension of member for disorderly conduct. Remember, 35 is exclusion of a member for disorderly conduct. Now, this one is a suspension of member for disorderly conduct. Where a member is found to be in contempt of Parliament under whatever orders, blah, 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 then the suspension can take place. Do you think the Speaker has the power to do a suspension in the circumstance?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Since he made those orders, I have tried to read something generally in our jurisprudence. There are some pillars of our jurisprudence that there is no law that can override those pillars. One of them is the breach of the rules of natural justice. There is no law that can take away the right of a person to be heard before punishment is released on that person, if I may put it that way. That we have, and I'm happy he was in the shot, Honorable Mahama Yariga. And I want to say throughout all the video, for me, he was my hero. The way he was able to stand and calm down everybody, you could see even asking people on his side to sit down and then ask, and you see everybody was listening to him. And I think if there was anybody that showed leadership within that 10 minutes fracas, I dove my heart out to him. Now he did this WAEC case where the Supreme Court held that the WAEC rules that allowed them to withdraw or to withhold exams results without giving the students the opportunity to be heard was unconstitutional. And that is, if that case, they said, even God does not punish us without giving us an opportunity to be heard.
Is it not standard that in a workplace setting or in an organization setting, when people conduct themselves in a manner that breaches the rules, the first thing they may suffer will be to get a suspension. And then there will be a hearing. The Speaker has set up a committee to hear, to now determine what punishment should happen. Is that not the same thing?
Unfortunately, that has been the practice, but it is unlawful. It is wrong. And I have a Court of Appeal decision to support this. It's by Justice Quay as it then was. The case is Thompson versus Total Ghana Limited. It's reported in 2009, 5 GMG 108 at 121. And this is what the Court of Appeal said. In certain jurisdictions, suspension from employment was a disciplinary measure. An employee, after an administrative investigation or inquiry, was suspended from duty without pay for the duration of the suspension as a lesser punishment than summary dismissal. Under such conditions, the affected employee was found guilty or culpable in respect of the alleged offense. In such a case, there could be no punishment or suspension imposed without prior inquiry, where the suspect was given a hearing. The instance of suspension, okay, so then they said, you use the word interdiction.
Okay.
So he went further to explain the difference. In some instances, suspension is used interchangeably with interdiction. Then he says interdiction, without attempting a precise legal definition of it, is where a worker is asked to step aside pending investigations.
That's right.
So there are two different legal terms.
So this doesn't sound like an interdiction.
No, this is a punishment. He has said that I'm suspending you
for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks, and I'm going to investigate. Like Honorable said, what then are you going to investigate if you have already formed your conclusion? Now, the first 35 that you read.
When you are arrested for an offense, you are a suspect.
Yes.
You can lose your liberty.
The Constitution provides for that. The Constitution says that everybody is entitled to fundamental human rights, except as otherwise provided by the Constitution. So the Constitution says, for example, if you go to boarding house, the boarding house, you have submitted yourself to the rules of the boarding house. In addition, they say siesta is light out is 10 p.m. You can't say that you have a right to move around anytime you want. And so you are, and the Constitution says for educational purposes, those rights can be restricted. Now, if you read the Order 35, where in the opinion of the person presiding over the house, or means that it is disjointed, not conjunctive, or a committee, and I believe this instance it was a committee. So the person presiding over the committee would be the chairman. So whatever conduct that is deemed to be grossly disorderly, it is the person who is presiding that can order the withdrawal of that member.
All right.
And in this instance, that is what the 35 says. The 35 says, where in the opinion of the person presiding over the house or a committee, the conduct
so
of
their standing orders.
Yes.
Nana, hold on. This is their own standing orders.
The conduct of a member is grossly disorderly. It is the person presiding who may order that member.
It is Bernard Ahiafo.
Who had that power?
Who had the power?
Yes.
To order their exclusion.
Yes, withdrawal from the. Yes.
Okay.
That is what he says. And since the Honorable Speaker was not the person presiding, he cannot rely on this order. Now, the other one that you read, the 130.
Yes.
Suspension of a member for disorderly conduct.
I think that one is clear that it is
you have to go
for a contempt hearing process.
And there must be a motion, and he says that the member, minister, or deputy minister shall be heard in defense. Order 129 Rule 8. And so,
okay, hold on.
The NDC case
hold on.
and the Supreme Court.
Hold on.
The mandamus application. They are right to be heard. That was what the Supreme Court.
Quickly, let me go to Oseiche Mensah Bonsu. That's a colossus when the rules come to play. Yes. First, let's take your view, but without seeking to narrow it to whether the speaker was wrong or right. A quick check. A quick research will show that speakers all over the world, almost everywhere in the world, have been vested with certain powers to issue certain sanctions. And these sanctions could include asking a member to withdraw, and I understand that is when they are making a statement or something of the sort. And they can also include suspension, but a reading around suggests that suspension can only happen after a hearing. What do you say? Now that the minority is challenging the speaker's orders, what's the way out?
Samson, thank you very much. I think that the incident which happened last Thursday and indeed in the morning of yesterday, Friday, certainly brings the name of Parliament into disrepute. It is grave and requires to be dealt with promptly. And the Speaker of Parliament is right to have availed himself of the imperative of Order 34 of the new standing order, which provides that despite anything contained in these orders, the Speaker may refer any matter of privilege to the Committee of Privileges and Immunities for examination, investigation, and report. I think the Speaker has, in view of the incident, directed the immediate suspension of the two chief whips for both majority and minority, respectively, and two other members, namely Alassane Suleiman Atampuli and Jerry Ahmed Shahid. Their suspension, as you said, is to last for 2 weeks. Now, the question to ask is from where the Speaker is deriving his authority, as I have heard you discussing.
The Speaker doesn't quote any rule.
In fact, neither the standing orders nor the Constitution grants the Speaker any such authority. The Order 35, which I heard one of your panelists quote, that is on the exclusion of disorderly member, and he has quoted it rightly when he says that in the opinion of the person presiding over the House or a committee, the conduct of a member is grossly disorderly. The person presiding may order the member to withdraw from the presence of Parliament, and that member shall immediately leave the presence of Parliament and shall not enter Parliament again during the remainder of the day's sitting. So, you see, if an incident happens in plenary,
in the
when
course,
the Speaker is presiding, then the Speaker is clothed the authority to cause the withdrawal of that person from the presence of Parliament, and even that.
Oh, we just lost the Chairman Sabon, so let's get him back. Let's get him back. But in the UK Parliament, in the US Congress, in the Australian Parliament, they appear to have these powers beyond simply asking a member to withdraw, but also to suspend. But again, it must be said that in most of these situations, for suspension to happen, there must be a hearing. Yeah, Honorable Chairman Sabosu, thanks for joining us back.
Sorry, the line dropped. So I was saying that even if it happens in a plenary where the Speaker is presiding, the order for the member to withdraw from the presence of Parliament lasts for the remaining period of the 24-hour sitting day. It doesn't last for 2 weeks. In this particular case, it happened before a committee of Parliament. And indeed, that order ought to have been issued by the chairman of the appointment committee, not the Right Honourable Speaker.
Okay.
So that is it. And indeed, the Speaker has stated that even before the Committee of Privileges commences their inquiry, he said that anyone found culpable of contemptuous conduct shall be surcharged for the full cost of repairs and replacement, with deductions made from the emoluments, including the salaries of members, if necessary. Clearly, the Speaker is jumping the gun. And from the top of his head, he's proffering his own counsel.
Whilst we still have you, I want to do quick so I come back to my guest in the studio and also on Zoom. Can you pronounce on the effects or the legal effects of the vetting that happened after the Speaker's orders were issued and brought to the attention of the committee? Is it void? Can those people be sworn in? If they are sworn in, can somebody go to the Supreme Court and get them, removed?
What is the effect of the Speaker's own directive? I think we are all indicating that the Speaker has not only jumped the gun, but he has gone outside the prescriptions of the law to impose his own sanctions. In fact, Order 36 provides the sanction regime, and the Speaker has gone outside that, even before the committee sits. So his own attitude and conduct is really, with the greatest respect, questionable. The good thing for us is that today is a non-sitting day. Tomorrow is a non-sitting day. I would plead with the two leaders, the majority and minority leaders, to have a quick meeting with the Speaker to resolve this matter. Because otherwise it may deteriorate.
The question I asked you, sir, was that once the order was made,
the order is an illegality.
It ought not be disobeyed until it has been properly set aside. That's the rule of law, isn't it?
If the order itself is an illegality, how can anybody apply it?
In the court, we say that even if a judgment is made in error, is wrong, is void, once it's been made, an order is made, the only way to change it is to take the right procedure to set it aside. Otherwise, it must be obeyed.
Is the reason why I'm saying I want to plead with the two leaders to have a quick engagement with the Speaker over the weekend to bring this matter to a resolution before the House commences.
That's good. But what do you say to the minority's position? They say that they don't intend to stage a walkout in this Parliament. If they have a view and the majority disagrees, they will not walk out, they will stay there and enforce it.
We're looking at a situation where the House could degenerate into something else. I think that we have had enough already. So it's coming back to the issue that I brought, that it is time for the two leaders to quickly have an engagement with the Speaker. I disagree with the method applied by the Speaker. His own orders are out of the standing orders. They have no place in the Constitution itself.
That point has already been made, sir.
But we need to resolve it. So let the two of them have a quick meeting with him over the weekend to resolve it.
Did the minority do the right thing when the majority insisted that they wanted to continue with the vetting, to vet extra more people? And the minority says, since we haven't discussed, we haven't agreed, it will not happen. We are not working out, but it will not happen. Were they right?
In plenary, before the House split, the Speaker usually would have preceding meetings with the two leaders. And sometimes he extends it to the broader extended leadership. I guess what has not been happening is that the chairman and the ranking member, plus a couple of the leaders, are not having preceding meetings. I will encourage them to do that. If they do that, we'll be able to avoid this whole buhar that occasionally blows up.
I need your verdict on the particular conduct, this particular case. The minority is clear that the majority was seeking to add on to the list of people to be vetted, and they disagreed because they had not had a consensus. In the absence of the consensus, they insisted that they won't walk out, they will not participate, but they will ensure that the vetting does not continue. Did they do the right thing?
Samson, you and I are not privy to whatever discussion that went on. Whether the list was agreed on or not agreed on, I'm not in a position to tell.
No, those are facts that both of them have relayed to us. Mahama Yarga confirms exactly what Habib says.
On the list?
Mahama Yarga confirms it.
That they did not agree on the list. In that case, you have been wrong on the part of the chairman to have insisted. And if it is wrong on the part of the chair, then it would then straighten the path for the minority. But I think the cure for this meeting is to really have preceding meetings and agree on the terms and conditions of engagement every 15 days.
Is the minority right to use fiscal force to enforce their protests?
I will not encourage physicality, but I will encourage truthfulness and upholding the integrity of the House and the committee.
So in this case, they ought to have walked out.
I've painted a picture. If you want to give it a title, it's up to you to give it a title.
Either they walk out or they sit there quietly without disturbing the process, right?
Something. I've painted a picture. However you describe it, it's up to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Osechi Mensabosu.
You are putting the issues in context. I've always been in pre-sitting meetings. That day, the whole protest was not the fact that we are not boycotting or we are not leaving. We said suspend. Even if you observe, anytime there is a problem, the minority leader will say that let's suspend and engage. But we said suspend and let's go and discuss this issue and we come back. He said he won't suspend. They should swear in the new nominee for us to continue. That was what.
And the way to stop it is to do it physically.
When persuasion fails,
force must be applied.
No way. No way.
They said they will beat us in the chamber. They have said it. And they will not also sit down for you to attack us. As much as we condemn what happened, as much as we are not happy with what happened, it was started by the NDC. They attack us. We told the chairman
let's hear from Nana Tudazi. He has not spoken on this. Okay, but let's go first to Mary Awalanada. Mary, what do you say? Having heard and gotten the education that we are having from Osechi Mensah-Bonsu and others. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Samson.
I can hear you now.
Great. So no matter what we say, just like it is said by others, this is unacceptable behavior. It is disgusting. It is shameful. And unfortunately, it has shown that the Parliament of Ghana has not learned its lessons from its past indiscretions. It is really, really sad that on live TV, and it's not just transmitted in Ghana but across the globe, we decide that people we call honorable can descend to such lows and exhibit such characteristics. It is unfortunate that this is where we are supposed to be building consensus, there's supposed to be dialogue, and there's supposed to be agreement, that people would go to stoop to such low to be carrying tables and destroying property.
You have just been told. You have just been told that when persuasion fails, force must be applied.
Honorable Abib's statement on when persuasion fails, force must be applied. I believe you should get him to withdraw that. It is unfortunate. In Parliament, you do not use force. It is dialogue. It is the superiority of your dialogue, and it is building consensus. So if we are not able to do that, and I like the fact that Honorable Oseche Mensah, who has been a leader of the House before, has clearly stated that there must be some consensus and agreements and pre-engagements before they come to the public. Otherwise, these are very unacceptable. And I say that Honorable Abib should withdraw such statements, because we are going to be contending with the House for the next 4 years, and this is not the way to go. I again say that whatever the legalities and others are, whoever is wrong or right, I believe the Speaker was very apt in issuing the statement. Why do I say so?
The Speaker is guided by rules.
It's guided by rules, but yes, to ensure that the citizens whom these are honorable members, in this case, who behave very dishonorably, behaved, there was a need for some leadership. And so in issuing the statement to condemn the fact, he is the father of the house. And so I do not see any wrong in him doing that. But as to whether he is within his mandate to have suspended others, that has been clearly stated here. But I believe the issuance of the statement also gives assurance to the people of Ghana that this is a parliament whose leader is concerned about its reputation and would not sit aloof and watch people who come out to say when persuasion.
Many people are applauding the Speaker, but the Speaker cannot be acting like a dictator. That's what they are saying. He must act within the rules. What the rule does not say he can do, he cannot purport to do.
Seriously, Samson, I totally agree and concede on that fact. But I'm saying that the Speaker has also shown that clearly he is a leader. As to whether he was within his remit of suspending when there was no privileges committee as yet constituted, it's another thing that we need to talk about. But clearly he has shown that he is a leader who would want to lead the House. Going forward, the other discussions must be then interrogated to see the limits within which he can go, particularly for a minority which is a very small. There is also a need for the Speaker to show that he is there for all, both sides.
Right. They say they are a mighty few, mighty minority. Let me come to Nana Tudaze. What's your say on this? Because we're looking forward.
Yes.
This has already happened. We are looking forward to avoid further such acts, particularly in the circumstance where the minority says we will never walk out.
Well,
we will not walk out when we lose a vote.
Thank you, Samson. But I hope I don't shock you. But I was in the House 2 days before.
That's right.
And I could literally predict what happened you know, the day after or 2 days after, you could see that there was chaos. There was absence of leadership. When I was sitting in there as counsel defending Baka Vomawo, the members were fighting over the speaker, the machine.
Microphones.
The microphones. You know, the minority leader was taken over from the, what do you call it?
The chair.
The chairman. There was a time I had to call for direction because people would say, we are the chair, this is from the chair. And I said, look, I can see the designated chair, but other people are saying they are the chair. I mean, there was confusion at that point in time. I mean, you were there. Yeah. I mean, so I'm saying 2 days before, and it was a problem. I could see a system failure. That is what it is. I've been in this business with them. I was part of the, Parliamentary transition bill that's coming up. I was there in 1992 when we did the standing orders, you understand. So, unfortunately, when I attempted indicating I understand what was happening, I had a punch in the face. That I was saying that I was 50 years at the bar and, you know, my law was probably weak and whatnot. And a firm marking honorable went back 2 hours later to, City FM and explained why he was harsh at me. It's amazing. My children were mad. Because of what he said 2 days ago, that I was a bully in the house. I mean, this is out of the court. You see, so we lack that kind of tolerance. They lack that composure to tolerate each other. There was no leadership. The very arrangement, the sitting arrangement, I had a problem with it. You see, they were in a horseshoe formation.
Yeah.
And that's
anybody wants to speak,
so
the speaker doesn't give permission.
Yeah, so you immediately...
And the speaker keeps shouting that I have not allowed you to speak.
There was nobody really in charge. Because the person in charge, unfortunately, with all due respect, didn't seem to be asserting himself. And was being challenged by the
Is he supposed to be fighting? You hear him shouting, sometimes trying to calm down. Yeah. What else can he do?
To just clarify on the issue that he was talking about, he appeared as counsel to
Oliver.
And at that time, the committee had the power of the High Court under the Constitution. So we were saying that Oliver was...
The power of the High Court is restricted to just 3 things you are supposed to do.
So
to summon appearance.
So that he was
to take evidence.
Good.
Yeah.
So and that was in that context. So he was under oath. So we were saying that since he's under oath, he should respond. Then counsel was saying that, okay, no, don't say anything. Then we were saying that if counsel want to talk, then we should put him to under oath. And then the chairman said that, no, how can you put a counsel under oath? And then minority leader also said, so minority leader is a very...
That's what I'm talking about.
But on that issue...
appreciate a lot that you have achieved for yourself, and he will never disrespect.
On that issue, will you agree that you didn't pay attention to, or you were a bit unwilling to agree to what was actually the law? That you lead a client there doesn't mean that your client takes the oath and you still want to speak when your client who took the oath is the one who is supposed to speak according to law.
Sorry, I don't really want to have us divert from this issue of the structure and arrangement that of Parliament, for that matter, the appointment committee. But, you know, I'll just tell you that we went to the appointments committee with a strategy. And what you saw me performing was really a strategy.
Was part of your strategy?
Yes, because I could see that, you see, they had put us there under Article 1036. As you rightly said, it has nothing to do with contempt, really. You get me? It's about attending to Parliament to produce, for production of material, whatnot. But they were adducing, they were going on to, is it Article 1, 2, is it 2? They were pursuing a line for contempt. And my view, that I didn't want to disclose, was that we will now let them, the committee, push that line. You see, because one, they haven't brought us under 122, and secondly, they were, you know, we have our fundamental rights You know, we didn't have to produce evidence for them to convict us. And they said that this was a preliminary investigation towards raising...
Someone was actually calling your client suspect.
Yes, they were calling him a suspect. So that's why I said, is he a suspect yet? But
no, I was the one who used the word, but I changed it to subject.
You and one other person.
Yeah, I was.
But that's why I said, I don't want us to be diverted.
Okay.
But we had a reason.
Right.
I didn't want Baka Voma to speak unless he was in the proper forum, because that forum where we found ourselves was a wrong forum. It was an issue of jurisdiction.
So you didn't protest the forum?
No, I was drawing. Did you see? Remember, I was raising a paper by the invitation, and I said, look at 1036. Why you brought us here? And they wouldn't listen. It's part of our problem.
Okay.
I was saying, look at...
So how do we resolve this particular problem they are faced with now?
I try to be short. One, I think that Parliament is a house of order. Must be a house of order. But Parliament is a house of rules and regulations. Parliament is a house of record. And Parliament is to be a house of honor, you know, for honorable people. And it should be a place for respect. Now, there are three categories of persons who interact within the Parliament. One, you are talking about the MPs, the members. Then you were talking about the staff. And the third one, the strangers or outsiders who come in. That we should show respect to them. Like I said, I went there presenting my client, and there was also reason for them to be, you know, some people to take advantage to be, behaving a certain way. But like I'm saying, what I saw in Parliament when I went there, and then what I had seen on television 2 days and yesterday, didn't show that Parliament was reflecting these values, you understand? And we will have to go back and the reset to say, what went wrong? What is it? And I think that basically, like I've shown you, for instance, the sitting arrangement is not correct. Because the situation where you don't know who is the leader, and the leader was not asserting himself, it's a problem for me.
Samson, if he has excuses for the way things were done, but it is not to conclude that there was no leadership. There was leadership.
I'm saying,
so
Habib,
for your excuses,
no, without due respect.
But you should not conclude that there was no leadership.
No,
we were all in there.
Let me say that I had to ask at a point in time, I'm making a specific case. I said, I was confused. Because people were telling me, hey, this is from the chairman, for the chairman. I said, well, I could see the chairman.
Was telling you to respond to something and he insisted that it was from the chairman when the chairman had not said so.
So I had
that's the issue you are referring to.
So I had to call on the chairman. So I said, look, chairman, please, I want the direction. Is it from you? You understand? That is the weakness that I'm talking about. I'm addressing a situation where the chairman's powers appear to be usurped.
Do you see a potential legal problem?
Yeah.
Regardless of the point made by Oseche Mensabosu, that the speaker's orders were wrong.
Yeah.
So they could be, say, they are void ab initio.
Yeah.
Once the orders were made and they brought it to the attention of the committee, the vetting they did after that, do you think could become problem, subject of litigation, that if those people are sworn in, somebody can go to the court and say that the committee was not properly constituted at the time. In fact, it was supposed to have suspended its work and it continued.
Yes, clearly, I mean, there's a challenge, permissible challenge out there. You know, interpretation of the orders, you know, how they come out. As I say, understand what is happening a little bit more. But Honorable Che Mensa, you could see he was reluctant to come out fully to conclusion. And I think that I would toe that line too. The House of Parliament, is they make their own rules. You see, they are masters of their own rules. So when they run into this kind of challenge, you know, what they do is they withdraw and then go into consultation. Let's not forget that the fundamental ground for creating this is a multipartism. it's not a one-sided affair. So, as much as possible, the issues of consensus building is paramount. You must discuss things. You can't.
Members of the public are saying a number of things. Some are saying, let me read one to you. Combat Craze says, how the ordinary citizen gets years for breaking windows of cars in Parliament, but MPs get just 2 weeks of suspension. It's such a whack democracy. This certainly can't be a democracy. There are some saying, if they who took the MPs to Parliament did anything close to what they did, they would have been arrested, they would have perhaps not been granted bail, but the MPs did all this, the police were all there, and nothing happened. Practically, what were your expectations?
No. Is it Mary?
Yes.
Madam made a fantastic statement that irrespective of the weaknesses of the Speaker's, statement and orders, they should be thankful to the Speaker because he's redeemed the image of Parliament heavily. You understand? Listening around, people are simply disgusted at seeing part 2 of what happened in 2021 play out on television.
You're a senior lawyer. You can't put something on nothing and expect it to start. It will collapse.
Yes,
what you are doing must have a foundation.
No, I'm not saying. I'm coming to that. I said the point is that I'm saying that irrespective of what it is, the conduct that was exhibited Thursday, Friday was unacceptable, and they must do that. Now, in Article 123, if you look at Article 123, which is where an act or omission which constitutes contempt of Parliament is an offence under the criminal law, the exercise by Parliament or the power to punish for contempt shall not be about to the institution of proceedings under the criminal law, which means that we all MPs must also understand that within Parliament, they don't have a liberty to commit crime.
The Speaker has made that direction, that the clerk should ensure that they report to the police.
Exactly.
Do you think anything will happen?
The point I'm making is that they may fault him on the orders, but what about the crime that's been committed? You were talking about a criminal activity.
Yeah, but let's talk about the substance. The police stood there, watched them do all they did.
No.
Will this same police be able to do anything to them?
No. It's a police strategy, you see a police strategy where they themselves are overwhelmed by a boisterous crowd. You don't go in to try and arrest. You recall. I mean, the videos, we can use the videos to identify.
Yeah, so the clerk will report to the police. Then what will happen?
Well, let's leave it to the police.
What is your expectation? What will happen?
I've told you that for me, I think we are in a learning process. You understand? Parliament is young. There's been a first.
This is how you get to a banana republic.
No.
Some people are not equal before the law. Even your law say all are equal before the law.
No, Samson. I'm saying that, for instance, I don't know, Habib. Have we had a seminar training program for this?
Yes, they have done so.
Yeah, it should be a continuing program.
Habib, what do you think will happen when they report to the police?
Yes, Samson.
Would they report?
Habib, answer my question.
No, I don't.
The clerk is supposed to report those who misconducted themselves to the police. Yes. Those who broke tables, those who broke microphones. That is damage to public property. Yes. It is a criminal offense.
Yes.
Those who issued threats, those who actually, a bit of assault happened. What will happen? What is your expectation? What will happen?
Samson, the Speaker's statement was very necessary. Considering what happened, it was very necessary.
Okay.
But what we are saying is that, based on the question you just asked, why already punish the people when you have already given 2 other directives for investigation to be done? Then that punishment can be meted out to them. Because if the police investigate and come to the conclusion that, even the thing that you are talking, even though we could see on TV, it was not only the people mentioned, or they were not even party to it, assuming, until found guilty, you are still innocent. Then what happened with your orders? Or assuming the committee that you have set up come out to say that, yes, these people were in contempt of punishment, and the punishment for contempt under our standing orders in 130 says, first offense, give them 4 days. But you have already given them 2 weeks. Second offense, give them 8 days. You have already given them 2 weeks. So what we are saying that...
Or even escalate to suspension. You have already given them suspension.
For the suspension. So then what happened? The Speaker under Order 20 is the head of our institution. When your house is on fire, it's only a madman who goes to sleep when your house is on fire. So his house was on fire. Then he has to do something. Yes, setting up the committee is necessary. Asking or directing the clerk to report it to the police is necessary. But moving ahead to suspend them is not right. That's what we are saying. We are not saying that holistically what the Speaker did was entirely wrong. We condemn the act that happened. Those members, I have told you, you know Tampuli very well. You know Jerry Ahmed. And Anodompre is a fine gentleman. He's not a violent person. In fact, he doesn't want violence at all. So we are saying that we respect the decision of the Speaker, but he should also know that the first Deputy Speaker, who is the chairman of the committee, did not handle the matter. Look, yesterday, similar thing nearly happened until we solve it. What happened was that in the morning, we had a caucus meeting. We reached out to the first Deputy Speaker. Roxanne called my boss, Anodompre, and told him that, a vetting will start at 10. Then when we were in our meeting, it was not 10 yet. We were watching the TV. Then they started to swear in Akando. You see the bad faith they were talking. But we agreed that we were going to meet.
No, the chairman, after the chaos, it had been announced, is it either by the chairman or Ayarga, that the next day you were going to meet at 9.
Good. Yes. So when he said that, then the chairman, Mama Ayarga, then I respect him based on certain things that he has just done with this, reach out to the minority leader, and they were to meet. Roxanne, who is a majority whip, and Anodompre, who is a minority whip. I was in the known, because that day, when it happened, I slept in my office in Parliament. Because of the time it finished, and Anodompre also slept there. So Roxanne said we were supposed to meet. So he had a conversation with Anodompre and said that, okay, we are meeting at Conclave to discuss what happened yesterday. So how then will you just move into swearing in another nominee?
In the absence of the
pretending
minority.
As if nothing happened the day before. And then when we went there, in fact, I went there in first in order to draw his attention. I told him that, Chairman, there is this issue that he said no. Then I draw his attention to Order 64 to tell him that whether subject matter members were part of the quorum, so I could get my colleagues.
I think we can make progress. There's a suggestion that it cannot be said that the Speaker doesn't have a power that a committee that the Speaker sets up has.
That Parliament setup, Speaker is not a member of Parliament.
I'm not too sure.
He is not a member of Parliament. He is just to preside over us. He is not a member. It's the Committee of Parliament, not the Committee of the Speaker.
No, but
committees of Parliament are committees of Parliament, but not committees of the Speaker. But the Speaker is the head of the institution. But he's not a member of those committees that we are set up for members of Parliament. It's like a referee.
Okay.
But Samson, just 1 minute. I'm not too comfortable about this translation. You see, these committees, they are not outside the Parliament. They are part of Parliament. That's Parliament. And the chairman or whoever presiding, they are doing the work of the, what do you call it, the Speaker. It's like, mini speakers are all those points. You understand? So when we talk about the powers of the chairman, I can't see how the powers of the chairman will be distinct from that of. It's part of the powers of the Speaker.
Now let's move on. Let's come to
ask them 2 questions that they both dodge. What happened after the orders? The appointment committee continue to vet. For us, it's wrong, and we'll test the law if they continue. The appointment committee was not properly constituted at the time. I draw their attention, and if they continue to swear them in, we'll test whether a properly constituted committee can vet and pass members.
I didn't dodge it. I, for instance, specifically said that there are answers. That's why I refer to 1, 2, 3. That you see, you are looking at the civil, remedies that you can.
No, that's a different one. But let's come here. Why you were there before the committee was that your clients had made a post that suggested that people were being as nominees were being asked to pay money to the appointments committee before their vetting. That is a big question that has arisen, and Joe Wise, former First Deputy Speaker, also had some comments to make. That's now made the issue a bit murky. That the Chief of Staff used to bring money to them or take care of what they had to do, and so on and so forth. And it's being said that this is corruption that has been going on. There was 2017, there was a similar situation where there was allegation of monies that were being paid the people, and a committee was set up by Joe Gate to investigate it. I was lawyer for Muntaka, who appeared before that committee. Let's get to that part.
Yeah, well...
the client apologized, so...
Yeah, that's part of the problem, you see. First of all, I was instructed very late, about 7:30 p.m. to appear with him on at 10. And that's a lawyer's thing. So your client briefs you and you grill him and you gather. But it was absolutely clear, and it was clear in the mind of my client that the second statement was fake. And I believed him. As we spoke, I'm sure this is a very radical, hard...
That's a statement he had denied long before he was called to appear before the House.
Yes. So, and then I believed him that second post was rare. And then, what about the first one? And then he did indicate, yes, I wrote that. But, part of what, of course, counsel's instructions you can't disclose or... I have seen it. I've noted. I have evidence. I have information. But, occasionally you have to advise your client. And it's like, well, maybe... But he said that the post was not addressed to to Parliament as such, the appointment committee. It was to open up and to expose what was happening generally. Of course, if you do, then another person thinks that he's defamed him. You can't escape blame. To that extent, we are prepared to apologize. And he agreed. We agreed on that. So we came into Parliament ready to withdraw. Unfortunately, as I said, they didn't give us much time, much room, to open up and explain. And both sides had come together, and probably, later on it came out, that they had taken a certain position before sitting. You see, they had a meeting that it's like picking up, it's a preliminary, they use the word preliminary investigation to collecting data or information to mount a contempt proceedings or refer the matter to privileges committee when it's constituted. That was what I had a problem with. If my client had to face contempt proceedings, you understand? Contempt proceedings is quite criminal, you understand? So to that extent, all the rules of in defense of a client comes in, that he's presumed innocent until proven guilty. And then he is not the one to provide, evidence of self-incrimination. So, but they were saying he should disclose all those facts. I said, no, we had agreed, we will not do that. But we were prepared to offer apology if our statement was misunderstood. So it's like we were being intransigent, difficult, but we were saying that we were prepared to go on the 103.6 for which you brought us here. You get me? And we are prepared to apologize for, Parliament being dissatisfied with comments, made. But the Privileges Committee, the point I was making was, ought to have been happier with us. That at least we were, lancing the boil. You see, that's a problem. We were pointing it out. You understand? And when I referred to, I said it was like a whistleblower's act. And they said, no, this is not a whistleblower's act. I said that irrespective of whether it was the formal law or not, a citizen like we said here, has a right, you know.
If you are doing whistleblowing, you don't go retracting and apologizing.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that, well, I've told you the reason why we had to apologize, because the Privileges Committee at the time had assumed that those, the references were to them. I said no, but I said, well, very well. That's why they had a problem with me, because I kept saying.
Bobby, like he was saying, there are situations he didn't want his client to get into.
No.
If they were going to escalate it to contempt, you know, truth is not even a defense.
Yeah.
The fact that what you said is true is not a defense in contempt, right? So, what's your assessment of what happened? And let's look at it with the backdrop of the conversation that has come up in the course of the week about whether or not the parliamentarians actually have been receiving, you know, unapproved payments for this kind of work.
To start with that end, Samson, I think it's a bigger picture than just limiting it to the scenarios now. One, if indeed parliamentarians have been receiving payments to approve or disapprove some members of parliament, that will be the height of misfortune. Let me put it that way.
Joe Wise confirms that they actually do.
Yes.
And his explanation is that this is like facilitation.
Yes.
Because the allowances take too long to come. So Chief of Staff, you know, facilitates the work.
But the payment that is it made to all the members from both political device?
He says that is what happens.
Yes. So committee members, it means both political device. That's what I'm saying, that it is both political parties. Yeah. If indeed the intention is to make sure, then what is the role of Parliament? Because if the executive nominates, and then there are people to be ministers, the role of Parliament is to make sure that they vet, to make sure these people are fit for purpose, they are competent. If they are now shedding that role because of financial inducement, then the whole intention of the framers of the Constitution for checks and balances is not being met. I do not think that there would be an instance where members of Parliament who are vetting certain persons would decide to approve people who do not otherwise qualify because of financial inducement. That is unimaginable that it can happen. In any event, in the last Parliament, there was a minister from the finance minister who, yes, you've even mentioned today, was vetted over 2 days. Let me use the appropriate, over 2 days. These payments that allegedly came, I'm sure may have even come within that period. But yet, it didn't stop the committee from doing the vetting over that period. And so it will be very weird, it will be very strange. My concern more is this, I don't think it is a new thing, but over the past few years, maybe 5-6 years, we've had people who have exercised or used the access that they have on social media to say things that either they do not have first-hand information of, or things that they know are not true. And then they malign state institutions, they malign public officers, and then when they are asked to prove, Senior, with all due respect, I do not agree that, for as example, if the statement that was made by your client, that NDC persons, I'm not quoting, but he made statement
that statement is a statement that was actually wrongly attributed to him.
Yes.
That was not his statement.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That was a reported
statement.
Yes.
But what was the statement that he made? The statement that he admitted he made,
the first one,
suggested that there had been some form of payment of money that had gone on.
No. Just a correction.
Yes.
Point of correction.
Yes.
The statement was to the effect that, it's like, what about all the payments people are being asked to make to appointments committee? I said that was where the
is that also not subject to oral?
So who was directing that the payments must be made to, some payments must be made to facilitate?
That's what I'm saying, that it's a suggestion that there has been either a demand for payment or an attempt to make payment.
Yeah, and I told you that he said yes. He has evidence.
That is what I'm saying.
But at the proper forum, like the contempt, you are given opportunity to call evidence.
Senior, if we all want to build Ghana the way we want,
yes,
steps must be taken by persons who say they have this kind of evidence to take them to the appropriate authority.
Exactly.
Otherwise, we will sit. Now, I have read this statement.
Yeah.
In my mind, I have a right to assume that indeed something may have gone on. And then Honorable Abib is sitting here. Maybe he may have demanded or he may have offered. Now, corruption is not, or the offense is not only when it is actually consummated. The attempt to do it is in itself an offense. And so if you have evidence that somebody has either attempted to demand or actually demanded or attempted to give or actually given monies in exchange for some form of favorable treatment at the vetting committee, it's a very serious offense or it's a very serious allegation. If we are building the democracy that people like you have invested...
Okay, so let's read the statement.
Yes.
So all the monies the ministerial appointees are being asked to pay to the appointments committee just to get approved, are those ones not affected by oral?
Yes.
Strange Republic. So in this statement, their interpretation as they put before the committee was that so all the monies the ministerial appointees are being asked to pay. They haven't said appointments committee is demanding.
I'm not saying the appointment committee is demanding. I'm saying that if there is a third person in between them who is going around saying that give me money, I'll get you approved, and you have the name and evidence for that person, submit it to the appropriate state agency. We were in this country.
So they are saying that this kind of thing, if there are people who have this kind of thing, this statement, they are saying what it means is that they are asking, shouldn't the oral receive these kinds of statements and investigate?
That's the point.
As it stands now, I don't believe oral has a constitutional mandate. That is my position. I do not believe. But as it stands now, assuming that you have the only person who has put this out is your client.
Yes.
So I don't want to assume somebody else has that information.
What has he put out? Has he accused anybody of?
No, he is saying that there's. Can you put it back on the screen so we can read it? So all the monies that the ministerial, so all the monies that the ministerial appointees are being asked are being present continuous. It means there is somebody who is demanding the payment.
Yes.
Now, can you put out this statement if you do not know who is demanding the payment? Or if you've not been told who is demanding the payment.
And has he said is the appointment committee that...
No, I am not saying it is the appointment committee.
Yes, immediately...
No, I'm not making that point.
Just a minute.
Yes.
Immediately you said that...
No, but he mentioned the appointment committee.
No, pay to the appointment. So it is possible there's a third person.
Exactly.
And I'm saying this third person is dangerous to our democracy.
Now to the
that is what I'm saying.
No, Bobby, you are right. Yes. To the extent that you say that there's a potential third party.
Yes.
Then this matter must be investigated.
That is
now,
what I'm making.
So you don't take the person who wrote this first thing to Parliament for...
No, Senior, we have gone beyond that.
The committee does not have investigative power.
We have gone beyond that.
The committee is not a court of law.
What I am saying...
our strategy was that we were pushing, put us to a proper forum.
Senior, will your client be ready in the name of this democracy that we all want to build, submit the name of this third party to the appropriate state institution? The reason I'm saying this is that last year or 2 years ago, there was an allegation that when the motion for censorship of the finance minister was laid before Parliament, a very senior businessman attempted to bribe parliamentarians to forgo that motion.
You know who made that allegation?
A member of Parliament.
Okay.
And they didn't do anything about it.
Something was done. The OSP asked Andy Akubi, actually went to Parliament to do the investigation. Yes. And Andy Akubi was brought before the OSP, and he was asked, who help us do this? Yes. And Andy Akubi didn't cooperate.
That is how our democracy starts failing. That is the point I'm trying to make. Because if you have this information, and then you do not want to build this democracy, if it was an issue of Galamsey, You would have killed, not like literally.
Their question is this.
Yes.
In this statement, you agree that he has not accused the committee.
No, I agree.
Okay,
so I'm not dealing with
so why were we there?
Yes.
Since you agree that he has not accused the committee of wrongdoing, why is the committee angry and seeking to punish him?
Samson, that is why I said I agree with the submissions that Senior made as to the jurisdiction.
Yes.
All that I'm saying is that taking it beyond Parliament, we have used social media to throw in some of these things to weaken these kind of institutions without taking the next steps.
Mahama Yarga said that there was one situation that he became aware of, that certain people who are in an industry in which a sector minister was going for vetting said they want to help that person for the purpose of the vetting. And he asked them, has he asked you to help them?
But
and they said no, but you understand the language. So they wanted to do something. And you are being asked the question, since this issue has come up over and again, in fact, to a point where Parliament has to set up a committee to investigate, should it be taken in the manner that the committee took it?
I think that these are matters that affect the foundation of our democracy.
Exactly.
And it is not a matter that should be left for Parliament to determine. There should be proper investigations. If I was the chairman of the committee, because whether we like it or not, even though the allegations have not been made directly against the chairman or the members of the committee, every fair-minded Ghanaian would begin to think that it is possible that there may have been an attempt through a third party or directly to impugn the very process that people stay up. Yesterday, people were staying up from morning. I was in a board meeting. They said, let's hurry up and close because we want to go and watch somebody being vetted.
Yes.
People are interested in this because it is Ghana that we are talking about. And so we should take some of these allegations very serious.
Okay.
That is what I'm saying. So Habib, the person who made this allegation.
We are going to our guest on Zoom, but Habib, you were in this committee and I could see how angry you were.
Yes.
And it turned out that all of you, your anger was triggered by the post.
Yes.
No, the report, not the post. That was a report that purported to come on the back of this post by a certain MPP project bureau, then replicated on Ghana Today, which he says that is not his comment, and you can't find that on his Facebook wall or any of his social media handles. So first, the question is, it appears you guys didn't do your due diligence before you added that and attributed that statement to him.
Samson, let me make this point very clear, that inviting him before the appointment committee was the right thing to do in the first instance. And we did that with the powers that we also have under the Constitution in Article 103, 6A and B, even though my senior here referred to Article 103, 6. But he didn't emphasize on the A and B, because Article 103, 6 says that a committee appointed under this article shall have powers, rights, privileges of the High Court or a justice of a High Court at a trial for A, enforcing the attendance of a witness, examining them on oath, affirming or otherwise, and B, compelling the production of documents. So the reason why we called him to the committee was on the back of the fact that the allegation, if you bring it, if you could, bring out what he actually wrote, then I can relate some of the words.
They'll put it up for you again.
Okay. Then on that we said, okay, if you have said that the monies that have been given to us allegedly or otherwise.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that.
No, I'm saying so I wanted to see the post. I want to see the post. Then I can be able to relate with the words very well.
Okay. Then please put the post back for
so that I can relate. Even the second post he is denying.
It's not a post.
The report.
Okay.
He is denying. I think that it is. There's nothing not much different from what he admitted.
It's very different. That one says that the NDC members on the appointment committee take bribes.
Relate the words. The committee is made up of which members and which members? It's not MPP members and NDC members. So if I say that the committee is taking money and then I elect to say that NDC members, they are members of the
Has he said that the committee is taking money? Has he said the committee is taking money?
That's why I want to relate with the words, but I think your producers haven't been able to. I want to quote it very well and relate it to what has been posted. You are a journalist, and you know when you say something, you also go to write a story out of it. You definitely write a story that is catchy, but he cannot run away from the ingredients of his post and the ingredients in the attributed report.
Okay.
Even though they have, and then you see something. Parliament and what
they put it back.
So if you look at where so all the monies, then ministerial appointees are being asked by who to pay to the appointment committee, of which the committee is made up of NDC and MPP. That is just the honest truth. Committee just to get approval are those ones not affected by ARA. And look at what he denied. He said NDC members on the appointment committee takes money. Do we have NDC members on the appointment committee or not? We have. Did he say money being given to the appointment committee or not? In his admission, they said yes. Ministerial nominee. The ministerial nominee is there. Before approval, the approval is there. I'm saying that you see, when you are reporting,
in law, you cannot attribute.
I am saying,
even in defamation, you must quote the exact words.
Exactly.
Not
so
what phrase it and impugn it to the author.
Samson know that when they media Joy FM, sometimes when they report some issues, you see the heading. It will be different. When you go into the substance, they might bring out the autumn because this is just.
But if you are quoting somebody to be accurate,
good. But this here, they did not put any quotation.
So is there wrong?
They were reporting. So if you read the actual one, they might be able to quote him verbatim in the story itself.
Then but related this one.
So you see, the point is that when we saw the first one and the second one, that's what we said that fundamental right. Let's hear him. He came and he said no. He said the other one, he is the one who has uttered it. Then he was ready to apologize. Our own issue is that we didn't want to just say that, okay, we have seen this post. Now that he has come to deny it, and just said, okay, we have seen this post and that, and for that matter, we are referring it to the privileges committee. That's not what we wanted.
Because if you wanted
to hear him.
If you did that, it will not amount to anything, because that's not his comment.
So that is why we wanted to hear him. But now that we have the right one, he said, I need to
move on. I need to move on.
And then see, the Joe Wise thing he said, I want to clarify it in context because he's very respectful. What he said is that maybe if President Mahama is to set up 60 ministers as he has said, then we vet all the ministers, vet all the deputy ministers, and they are approved, the work is done. Then the chief of staff, he is a former chief of staff, then the chief of staff will say that, oh, committee, the way you have been able to do, facilitate my work being done, take it. He didn't say that. That's what Joe Wise said, that, okay, in the process of the vetting, maybe when you vet Mr. One and finish and say, oh, you have done well, take, before you go to Mr. Two. No. His statement is to the effect that when everything is said and done, like President Mahama is going to do system ministers, when the system ministers is done, and they think it's not even demand.
But he talks about the fact that the committee members say, the committee members in the process say they are expecting something is not coming, they are expecting the thing is not coming.
Where is that money?
But Samson, let me make about the inappropriate payment. I've said that, look, any payment that comes to you, which is not
your
part
allowance
of your regular pay or whatnot, is inappropriate. In the Parliament in the UK, ministers, members of Parliament and whatnot have had to be sanctioned or whatnot. If we are not sanctioning our MPs, that's a different matter. You see,
on what basis?
No. Because
on what basis? Because we haven't taken any money.
Where did the chief of staff get that money from?
It was the first deputy speaker who said so. And he has been chairman of this committee before. But I'm just relating to his words to the effect that he's not saying in the process. But when they conclude and you come and say that, oh,
Thank you. See, is this your first time on the appointment committee?
No.
Okay, then I'll ask further questions.
Okay, thank you. Now let's.
So the appointment committee doesn't take money.
Okay. So I'm being prompted to take a quick break. We come back, we hear from the ladies, and then we deal briefly about the. Looks like we are in a season where people connected to the NDC, or actually NDC people, standing trial, and NDC doesn't believe that they are being tried fairly or that they are being persecuted, is handing them, free acquittals, just throwing in and say, you are acquitted and you are leaving. How is that also panning out? There are people who are very angry about that. We'll be right back.
Spending time to really erase all doubts regarding your integrity is very important. I had wind of what he said, and then the chairman reached out. I said, call him, let him come, and if he has anything and he can substantiate it, we need to deal with it openly and then transparently. So I think that inviting him to come and substantiate his claims is in the right direction. I'm unaware of any such thing. And so that's why I think he should come. Maybe he has something, maybe, because you see, in this country, all sort of things happen. I actually met somebody who operates in a sector, and the person said, our minister is, our sector minister is being considered this week, so we want to go and help him. And I said, has your sector minister asked you to come and help him? So no, we just want to come together and help him. I said,
real story.
Yeah, real story. I said, no, none of them has a problem. All of them, so far as we are concerned, if the president has nominated them, unless somebody really has a petition that is against your sector minister nominee, he should be fine. I'm telling you, I told the person, I don't think there's a need for you and people in your sector to go mobilizing money that you are going to help your minister, because we won't even accept it. So that is out there. You get the situation.
Right.
A certain perception that, and so maybe somebody
a private
spoke,
sector. Private sector.
Yeah, somebody spoke and he heard or something. But if he has anything about, some money is being handed over to, appointments committee members, he should just come and then we'll look into it. And I encourage it, not just this instance.
I joined the appointments committee. Most of the time, at the close of our work, the chief of staff will bring money to the members of the committee. It's like facilitating our work. I wonder how anybody could link that to bribery.
It's not bribery? It's not influence peddling?
After the work, how can it be influence peddling? It does not give advantage to anybody or gives disadvantage to anybody. So
have some soft issues.
Let's move on.
So we've abandoned these ones. Doc, honorable nominee. With me. If you honorable nominee. Politics with me. Then don't be irritated when we start the politics. I am here.
Honorable nominee.
Then you want to do party.
The question asked, you answered. That is for some time. It's not a direct post where you will be able to see the document and admit that this is my post. So therefore, you have a difficulty accepting whether this is your post or not. And the questioner is saying that if that is your answer, he wants to abandon any further question on that and proceed on another angle. So let's take it in good faith and allow him to proceed on another angle, but not what you are not able to identify, whether it is your post or not your post.
And let me remind you on a lighter note that the fact that I'm grilling you does not mean that when you get there and you are supposed to give protocol allocation, you deny me. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. You cannot. Because, yes, there is. And committee members benefited. Yes, there's something like that. When I was a defense committee member, your ranking, your members benefited. I am saying it on authority. They did. And they even had more than with the MPP members. They did. I'm not. That's a fact. Kennedy Japan was the chair of the Defense and Interior Committee. They benefited. So I'm telling you that when you are giving, don't think that because I grilled you, you will not allocate.
Honorable ranking member.
I did.
Honorable ranking member, I have also been in this house for some time. I was a member of Parliament and at the point became the ranking member for Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, a very important committee of Parliament. But I know nothing called protocol. What really happened is that our constituents will come with the form. Then as a member of Parliament, you have to be pleading with the sector ministers whether or not they can help. So that is what I know. But I have not seen a situation where they say that a member, you have this number of people, go to your constituency and bring them to come and join military. And I'll keep on making this particular point to the Ghanaians. So I beg, please, if some people were treated that way, then there is an element of discrimination. Because some of us didn't know what is even protocol. We go to beg. You plead like you are becoming a defense minister. It is time for recruitment into the military. You will see members of parliament coming to your office to come and plead and intervene on behalf of their constituents. But you won't tell them that, oh, I have 10 members, go and bring them automatically to come and join the military. That is not it. So let me use the opportunity to clear the doubts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
All right. So, Rodo Sayafo, Mary Awalanada, let's come to you now. From Mahama Ayarga, talking about how some group wanted to help their sector ministers vetting to facilitation, and then now to, what shall we call it, protocol or intervene and plead. Which one is which? Yes, Rhoda.
I think some of the revelations, if I should put it that way, or the confirmation by way of the information that is coming from our members of parliament and our former deputy speaker really speak to a certain culture that is creeping into our society, which is the monetization of services and processes, right? That now we have created this expectation that any service provided or rendered, the money has to exchange hands. So somebody goes to a public office, goes to an agency of government for a service, and there's an expectation on the part of the person rendering the service that at the end of the day, when your needs are met, you should put something as by way of thank you or whatever. And for Parliament, for some of these practices to be coming from Parliament is really troubling. And I find the information from the former Deputy Speaker to be worrying that Parliament is doing its work. Parliamentarians are remunerated. There are provisions for their sittings and all of that. But beyond that, the Chief of Staff has to now come in again after everything to provide money. What is even more worrying is the justification that this is facilitation, right? After the work has been done, we are paying money to facilitate. So really this justification for me is troubling, because otherwise all the police service, every other institution or agency of government can have justification for taking monies. But is this the trend? Is this the path that we want to tread as a country? I don't think this is where we want to go, right? And I mean, it's really troubling, and I hope that Parliament will be able to come out with a policy. Some institutions, even in the private sector, are being proactive by putting out policies, statements that are saying we don't accept the payment of any monies. I think it's important for Parliament to adopt such a practice communicate clearly to the public, to nominees, to whoever, that in your business with Parliament, you are not expected to pay any monies whatsoever to anybody, and that you come and you conduct your business. The costs and all of that associated with parliamentarians and committees doing their work, that is on the state. I think it will be, if they are really concerned about their reputation and some of these statements that are coming out from the public and people's expectations or understanding of the role of Parliament and what they should be doing as in approaching them to even offer payment, I think it's clear that Parliament puts such communication or some kind of policy out there to clarify all of these, because this is clearly worrying. And the other issue about protocol allocation, again, it goes back to the transactional nature of business in many places, that because we are doing this at the end of the day, we expect that we'll be provided with some opportunities to do this. I think there's nothing wrong if members of Parliament want to direct their constituents to appropriate places, agencies, and authorities in terms of where they can get more information about the procedures for applying into certain institutions and arms of government. That is fine. But for that kind of information and expectation about protocol allocation and the basis for that, I think I'm not sure about where we are heading with that.
Rhoda, what is our problem? When the matter comes up and they deny it, we say, hell no. Now, when there are people who come up and frankly tell us what exactly it is that happened, we still are blaming them. What do we want? We say money changes hands, for vetting. Then someone comes up and says it is only facilitation. We say there are, political party people who are being recruited here and there. They come up and deny it. Then somebody, steps up and says, it happens. It's something that we do. And we say he too, we should crucify him. What do we want?
Yes. So that information, to the effect that it happens, it only confirms what probably already exists in the public domain that has been going on. That, however, does not make it right. Okay? We all want a system that works for every Ghanaian, right? If I want to apply to the Ghana Police Service, I want to be sure that as a citizen, I'm competing for that slot, and that is on the basis of the qualifications provided, not that somebody has a better access to their MP and their MP has more slots and all of that. If we want to have a society that is fair, equitable, this is the direction we should be looking at, and we should be moving away. And of course, they are talking about security agencies. We know that it goes deeper than that, to educational institutions, to all manner of places. And again, this is an area, if we are really keen on resetting our institutions, of course, there's provision now. We are going to have constitutional review. I'm sure these are areas that we want to avert our minds to and make sure that we are addressing these problems, because whereas our members of Parliament may think that they may be solving a particular problem, they really may be creating other problems that will really not be helpful for all of us. Okay, let me go to Mary now, and let me tone down. And Mary, you know where I'm toning down? Somebody is very angry that the last question I asked Rhoda, I was passionate about it, as if to say that it is right for people to disclose something which is wrong. What do you say?
I believe your question was a fair one, but it is the right thing to do. That is why we have a legal regime that promotes the disclosure of wrongdoing in whatever shape or form. Whistleblower legislation was passed to encourage citizens to do the same. And so I believe that our culture generally as a people has not promoted that. And again, as a people, we have tended, as Rhoda has indicated, we have tended to give a certain level of respect to people we put in places of power, forgetting that it is we, the citizens, or we, the people, as the Constitution says it, who have assigned these roles and mandate to these people to perform on our behalf. And so we've made them mini gods in a way. And so when they do things wrong, we are not able to call them to accountability, unfortunately, because what evidence do we need anymore? And yet it comes back to the issue of accountability that I've been speaking of. If we are equal before the law as citizens, then a member of parliament who clearly says that he is being facilitated to do his work, the law says that a bribe is a bribe. And remember that the bribe doesn't have to even occur. The intention alone is a crime. So if we say that, and we say bribery or corruption is the abuse of entrusted power, why are you taking the money after the fact to ensure that your hands are lubricated, or is grease money to facilitate and hasten the process? Nobody can tell me any other thing, and I would agree to. But it is time that we begin to look at the various protocols we put in place to ensure that Parliament itself is cleansing itself. And I remember at one of their meetings where I participated in, when they were finalizing the standing orders, one of the institutions or the creatures they wanted to put in place was to have a better anti-corruption system within Parliament to ensure that they are stream.
Did I lose Mary? Okay, yes, Mariada's line. Good.
To ensure that, yes.
Yes, go on.
Great. So we are supposed to have a process where we have somebody who is a whip sort of administratively within Parliament to cater for some of these things. And he had a duty to ensure that ethics and conduct is very highly attended to. I am asking, now that their standing orders are in use, is that office set up? And if it is set up, what is the person doing to some of these things? Because this type of comments that are coming from honorable members is tending to make them look very dishonorable. But if the honorable Afenyo says, do not deprive me of my protocol, and then in the chairman's response in trying to ameliorate the implications of that impunity, also goes on to say that they take the applications of their constituents to then facilitate the process. I do not see any difference with that. It means that we as a people would begin to, in ourselves, take up this whistleblower legislation. And Samson, you know, I have been on platforms with you where people have said these things very frankly. But when it comes to them disclosing, it becomes a problem because Parliament has made themselves a god on their own, intimidating people and making people afraid. Ramawa made a statement, and see the way they came at him. And these are some of the things that make people recoil in their shells. When they have the truth, they are not able to come out to say them because of the implications that will come to them.
Some will say,
we need to.
Some will say that you need to also address the problem of the administrative bottlenecks. They are doing a job for which they have to be paid. They have to be paid allowances, and often the allowance is delayed until so long before it comes. So Joe Wise says that. Why is it wrong that the chief of staff will seek to facilitate this process? It doesn't matter that the allowance comes late, and he says sometimes it comes and then they take it. They take it in addition to the facilitation they took. I've had people ask me that question, that which civil service don't they have such delays? Why should there be this treatment of a facilitation for MPs? So the problem of the bottlenecks in the civil service also have to be dealt with. If it's an allowance they are entitled to, maybe before they sit, you give it to them so they don't have to ask for some facilitation, right?
Samson, admittedly, that is the right thing to do, but we know what is happening to our bureaucracy and what happens in the civil service when it comes to procurement, the acquisition of memos, approvals, and others. And you know the allocational issues. I believe Parliament is actually in the right place because they get their money the way they want them. However, the question we must ask ourselves is, in the budget of the office of the president, do they make allocations for Parliament, which is an arm of government, which also has its budget? Does that go to say that they also make allocations to the judiciary to also facilitate? I'm just conjecturing in this case. It is wrong that the office of the president tries to interfere in the works of Parliament. And this must be put out there that we all talk about. It is wrong. Today, tomorrow it will be wrong, and forever will be wrong that the executive is sending monies to Parliament to facilitate processes. Samson, you have also been in a lot of platforms where you have heard, even with legislations to push. It's a problem. And so we must all agree that there are things that are happening within that space that must be stopped. Otherwise, we would just be recycling the wrong and continuing to do the wrong things. And if those who are supposed to be making the laws for us begin to justify some of these things, then we are in trouble.
Okay,
and
thank you.
I believe that our fight against corruption is incumbent on the executive, incumbent on the legislature, and the judiciary being as effective and efficient as possible.
All right, thank you very much. And some of them tell us that they will go to, there are certain things that they will go to their graves with. They wouldn't talk about them. Professor Kweku Azar says that the discontinuation of prosecution raises important questions about governance, the rule of law, and the fight against corruption. Beyond politics, we must examine the legal and procedural realities that shaped these cases. Each case has been in court for at least 7 years. If prosecutions fail despite claims of judicial favorability, we must ask, were they rushed? Was the evidence weak? Were the charges politically motivated? Justice is not served by endless trials without conviction. Instead of debating the discontinuation, we should ask, how do we ensure prosecutions are based on solid legal grounds? What lessons can improve future prosecutions? How do we prevent justice from being weaponized for political battles? The focus must be on systemic reforms, ensuring stronger prosecutions, better case management, and a legal system that delivers fair, timely, and credible outcomes. Justice demands accountability, but it must also be efficient and fair. We'll be right back to ask this very question on the back of the various processes that have been put in, leading to the acquittals that we have seen, Opuni and Agongo. Their case has been going on for almost 8 years. They have been set free, so to speak, acquitted and discharged. Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo was under prosecution for conspiracy to cause harm. Together with Johnson Esiama also had his own, situation he was facing. They've been acquitted. I think a day or two after his acquittal, he just got his job at the Bank of Ghana back. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. And the Attorney General, Dominic Ayine, has been busy in the courts doing a few things. His first his first instructions have been to go to the courts and discontinue all cases against some NDC or NDC affiliated persons. And as you are aware, Atuforsen Richard Jakpa, Atuforsen Minister for Finance, Richard Jakpa, a businessman, of course, they got their liberty through the courts, but the Attorney General went on an appeal against them. So that's being dealt with as, call it like a civil process. The Attorney General has gone to the court to discontinue that case, so it's gone. Dr. Stephen Opuni, former Cocoa Board CEO, he was standing trial together with Seydou Agongo. There was a withdrawal put in, a process in law called withdrawal was put in, and they were not only discharged. Some people are surprised about it. Why is it that they were not just discharged so that they can be put on any time, but they've been discharged, acquitted and discharged? How did that happen? Former national chairman of the NDC, Ofosu Ampofo, he was standing trial with, what's the name? Is it Boaheng? Okay, so that one too, they have put in a withdrawal and they are free, they are gone. Johnson Esiama, former deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, of course, he's returning to his role after the government or the state put in the withdrawal for him. So all of them have gained their liberty and they are free. Stephen Oponi, for example, says that, quote, "The living God I serve has disgraced, cursed all my enemies, my prosecutors, and destiny haters," end quote. I'll come to you before I go to Nana Atudazi. First, tell us, what kind of law allows this, that you are going through prosecution and then in the middle of the prosecution, you are completely set free and the prosecution is botched, terminated?
Well, the prosecutions are done in the name of the Republic. So it is the Republic that has the discretion whether to prosecute somebody or not. That power to prosecute is vested by virtue of the Constitution in the Attorney General, or any person that the Attorney General may by any law delegate that power. I think if you look at the Criminal Procedure Code, it provides that the Attorney General may enter nolle prosequi at any stage of a criminal proceedings before judgment is delivered.
That's different from withdrawal.
Yes. If the Attorney General enters nolle prosequi, it only results in a discharge. What it means is that the person is not acquitted. The person can be arrested and put back on trial for the same charge. The Attorney General need not give any reasons for that exercise of the nolle prosequi. So in this instance, if the Attorney General had entered nolle prosequi, it means that the prosecutions, whatever stage they would have reached, would only have been withdrawn or stopped, and in the future, it could be recommenced. Now here, the other means by which the state, acting through the Attorney General or the Attorney General's office or the prosecutors, can exercise this power of prosecution is by doing what is called a withdrawal. Now, the withdrawal has different consequences depending on the stage that the case has reached.
Okay.
If it is exercised before the close of the case of the Republic, it means that it can only result in a discharge. What it means is that the person who the state has entered the withdrawal notice can be rearrested and tried for the same offense.
That is when the state has not concluded its case.
They've not presented all the evidence in the course of it before they say, I'm done with my case. They can exercise the withdrawal. Normally, it's done to restructure if they think that there's some evidence they've not brought.
Okay.
But if it is after the state has closed their case, and whether or not the defendant or the accused person, in this instance, has opened his defense, if the state decides to exercise that right of withdrawal instead of nolle prosequi, then it means that the accused person is not only discharged, but is acquitted and discharged. What it means is that the accused person cannot be rearrested and tried for the same offense. Because the notion is that once you have presented as a state all your case, you have put everything before the court. The accused person had an opportunity to do everything, prepare his defense, because the Constitution says that you will not do anything that would disable an accused person from being able to provide his defense in the matter. So if the state, you have closed your case, you've given the accused person the structure of your case, they are now allowed to exercise their right under the Constitution to open the defense. The moment you say that, no, you are withdrawing it, you should not be allowed to go and restructure your case. So once you exercise that right of withdrawal as the Republic, after you've closed your case, then the accused person will be discharged and then acquitted.
All right.
So you cannot rearrest him and bring him back to face trials or charges.
So as far as these charges against all these individuals are concerned, that is except Atufosing and Richard Japa, which was just an appeal, it's case closed forever.
Done.
Yes.
Interesting. So this was a skillful way to go about it. Why they didn't go for a nolli prosequi, which meant that it could be reactivated in future. And join me tomorrow, 2 p.m. on the law. I'll be with him, Bobby Banson, and we'll give you the education info. And after that, there are those who are saying some of these cases, it appears that the accused persons had a good case. Yeah. At least that's why it has dragged all these years and the Republic couldn't finish their case. So why don't you rather allow it to go to the end on its merit rather than truncating it so that they get their freedom and know in their heart of hearts that they did this and won?
Well, that's a good question, but the reality is that the realm of prosecution lies with the Attorney General. And the Attorney General under Article 88.3 has a power to initiate and ensure the conduct of a trial. Of course, that means he has a power to start, he has a power to stop, he has a power to withdraw, he has, all that. So, like what Bobby said, Article 88.3 does not provide for any reason even to be given whatsoever. So if it's the man who started the thing says, I'm taking it back, I'm withdrawing, we can't even go beyond to find out the reasons why, he's saying that. They may have good reasons. Maybe he sees that upon studying the docket, this is a hollow docket. He sees that this is a wholly political thing. Maybe it's, slanderous something. I was tried after we left government under the Abayime Rights Project. And up to today, I've refused to read the judgment, the whole judgment, And you know why? Because I just didn't understand why I should be in the court in the first place. And I knew the reason. Some told us that we were making too much noise, so they keep them busy, whatnot, So there could be all kinds of political, funny reasons given. You understand? I think that at a point in time, in the new dispensation, you take opportunities. Why has this case dragged for 7 years, 8 years? If there was something in it, they would have convicted them long ago, And let's create a new, atmosphere. Let's have a new slate, the slate clean. And then let's see. But clearly, these people have disputed. They've said, look, we didn't do what you charged us with. Produce evidence. And that burden...
They are mounting their defense as we speak before the truncation because the court took the view that they have a case to answer.
Yes.
Otherwise, they will not be mounting their defense. After prosecution finished their case, they filed submission of no case. Yes. The court would have acquitted and let them go. But the court didn't.
But sure, submission of no case is just a scintilla of evidence. It's enough to keep you in the trial. Mm-hmm. You understand? Scintilla of evidence. The tiniest, you were there at the time. It's enough.
The scintilla of evidence also is all that is required to...
But like in our trial, Justice Alfred, you people come and stand and say something. It was openly, So I think that there is really the law permits it. Two, the length of time. I think is it, Mr. Azar?
Yes, Kuku Azar.
It is a fantastic summation of summary of the legal political situation. We must keep faith with our system, a judicial system that permits a case to run 8 years. There are people in prison.
These are cases that the people involved, because of the stakes and the fact that they can also afford, they are appealing every single point of law. They will go to Court of Appeal, go to Supreme Court. So that's part of why it drags.
They are entitled. Unfortunately, there are people who are who are in the prisons at this home. 10 years and whatnot, their cases have not been called. It is out of this that the system is not working well.
Right.
That's why we had a position of taking justice into the prisons.
Our time is exhausted. Let me go and see if I'll get a minute's comment each from our guests on Zoom. My outfit, as always, is by Kunati Clothing. You can call them 0244-676732. Find them at the Adenta Shopping Mall. And we have been starting at 8 a.m. And we're doing that, hoping that the transition will be over quickly. Then we'll revert to our 9 o'clock. So hopefully, we are hoping that by the close of next week, the ministerial things would have been over. Then we'll revert to the status quo ante, 9 o'clock. Yes, so let's hear from Rhoda and Mary. If you can spare a minute each to summarize your thoughts on these acquittals.
Yes, Samson, quickly. I think clearly the lawyers have established that there's basis for the Attorney General to engage in such acts. And I think for me, the question I'm asking is, in the case of these individuals, what would be the basis? What were the reasons for that? It would have been good if we had an idea of why these cases were being terminated. Of course, I'm not sure it's the first. These are not the first cases to be terminated. In some cases, we've read about reasons have been provided. It would have been great if we had an idea of why these cases, especially in some of them, there are other individuals who are also involved, but some individuals, the case has been terminated for some individuals. And that's where I have an issue with. Maybe it's something with the law that we can look at to see so that we can clear every doubt, especially in one instance where somebody is stepping into a very key position as the governor of the Bank of Ghana. Would it be in the interest of the person to go through the process for the person's name to be cleared if indeed there's nothing really that the state had against such a person versus terminating issues at this point?
Right. Let's hear Mary. And unfortunately, they don't give reason because the law says they are not bound to give reason. And I am one also championing that. I'm waiting for one of them to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'll have a problem with the Attorney General. That coup that was said to have been staged on Facebook, Oliver Bakavomawo, they should go and terminate that case. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, Mary, quickly, what are your thoughts? Hello, Mary? Oh, no. Mary cannot hear us. That's unfortunate. Our time has also run out. Thank you also very much for tuning in and watching Newsfile. I have just received your messages, quite a good number of them. Unfortunately, I couldn't read them. I promise you that next time I'll be reading your messages and read them religiously for you. Thank you very much, Nana Atodazi. He is international political transition expert and senior lawyer. Bobby Banson is private legal practitioner. He teaches the law at the Ghana School of Law. Mary Awalana Ada is executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. And Rhoda Osei Afo is senior research analyst, Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD. Earlier, we spoke to Erastus Asare Donko, and we also were joined by Alhaji Habib Idrisu, MP Tolong, and First Deputy Minority Chief Whip. Have a good afternoon. I'm Samson Lardy Anyenini.